Or should we dim the light? Or maybe the front one. Can we dim the front one? No. So, okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. إن الحمد لله أحمده وأستعينه وأستغفره وأستهديه وأعوذ بالله تعالى من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. Welcome to the Hajj workshop where we're going to go over a brief introduction to the various parts of Hajj and Umrah. So without any further delay, inshallah Sheikh Mustafa is going to be joining me later. So without any further delay, what is Hajj and Umrah? Now Umrah is a minor Hajj, and so Hajj and Umrah are very similar, except that Hajj has more than, so Hajj has what you do in Umrah and more. But the word Hajj itself means to make a journey to Mecca with the intent to perform an act of worship, which is one of the 5 pillars of Islam, during a specific period of time. The technical definition scholars give is to perform certain rituals during a certain period at a certain place. And then they break it down. So that certain journey is called Hajj. It must be performed within the time allocated for that or set by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we're in that time right now. It is obligatory upon every Muslim once in a lifetime, given that the person has the financial and physical ability to do it. If the person does not possess neither the financial or the physical ability to do it, then there's an agreement amongst the scholars of Islam that the person is exempt from having to perform that. And of course, it reminds us of the first person to make the call for Hajj, which is Ibrahim alayhi salam. After he finished the rebuilding the Kaaba, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded him to call people to it, to perform pilgrimage to it. And Ibrahim made the call, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala delivered the message. And ever since, people have been responding, even before Islam or before the Prophet's time, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, people have been responding to this call once a year. And it never stopped, right, ever since. Now, it's important to note that the Prophet ﷺ himself performed only one Hajj in his lifetime. One. And the Prophet ﷺ's Hajj is the correct Hajj. What I mean by the Prophet ﷺ, the way he performed Hajj and the way he instructed his companions and whatever he approved of. Any practice prior to that was known during the pre-Islamic period that was reformed or changed or corrected by the Prophet ﷺ would no longer be valid, right? Because Quraysh or Arabs had different rituals. They had added or changed certain things, so they were all changed by the Prophet ﷺ or corrected rather. So you visit Mecca during this journey and some of the nearby regions. So technically Hajj is in Mecca, but you are going to go beyond Mecca. There are certain parts that are not considered to be of Mecca. I personally, now that Mecca expanded, you would say that they are the outskirts of Mecca. But Hajj cannot be performed anywhere else. So there is no pilgrimage to Medina, there is no pilgrimage to Jerusalem, there is no pilgrimage to any other place. The actual rituals are usually covered or performed between the 8th and the 12th. However, the months of Hajj began from the first day of Shawwal. At the end of the month of Ramadan, the 10th month is Shawwal, or the day of Eid. From that day and until, of course, the 12th or the 10th of the Hijjah, these are called the months of Hajj. This is the period where you can initiate Hajj, or you can get into the state of Hajj. So if somebody gets into the state of Hajj and puts on their, which we will explain later, before that, in Ramadan, it will not be considered Hajj. So it has to be done within that period of time. Now, of course, you have the option to, if once you obligate yourself to perform Hajj in the beginning of that period, that means you're stuck until you're done, right? Unless you, of course, you perform Umrah and then you get out, which we will explain, inshallah ta'ala. It's one of the largest gatherings in the world. Prior to the reduction in the number of Hujjaj, it used to reach this number. Now, with the restrictions that they have because of the expansion project, the number came significantly down, maybe almost by 50%. So my personal estimate would, I would estimate it to be somewhere between 2 to 3 million max. So Umrah is a minor Hajj. It's a small, and it can be done any time during the year, right? If it's done during the months of Hajj or with Hajj, so Umrah can be combined with Hajj, then that is also valid, and it's one of the types of Hajj, right? So now you can perform Umrah any time of the year, right? You can only perform Hajj during the Hajj season. You can combine Umrah with Hajj during the Hajj season. You can perform Hajj by itself without Umrah during the Hajj season, right? So you have those who perform Umrah outside the Hajj season, those who perform Umrah with Hajj, those who perform Hajj by itself. So these are the three different options that you have. So the main differences between Umrah is a much shorter version of Hajj, much shorter, and it can be done within hours. Hajj requires few days. Umrah can be done anytime. Hajj can only be done during a specific period of time. It's, of course, Hajj and Umrah can be performed together during the Hajj season. So this is, of course, Saudi Arabia. This is what Mecca used to look like in the old days. Of course, now this is what Mecca looks like. It's much bigger. So right now, the Haram, the Grand Mosque itself, covers the area of the ancient city of Mecca, the entire city of Mecca. Okay, I'm going to skip all of this historical background. Real quick, of course, most of us understand the virtue of Hajj. That's why you have embarked on this. But Hajj is one of the greatest acts of worship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whoever performs Hajj sincerely for Allah and avoids anything that violates Hajj will come back from that journey like the day his or her mother gave birth to them. In other words, they're going to be cleansed from their sins, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive them. In another hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned that a sound Hajj, the only reward that a sound Hajj has is Jannah. Right? Of course, one is not totally exempt from, that doesn't mean that after you perform Hajj, no matter what you do, nothing is going to happen. Actually, one of the signs of a sincere or sound or accepted Hajj is that the person will experience change in their, they will have change in lifestyle, they will experience change internally, and it will show in their behavior as well. Um, طيب. Okay, who must perform Hajj? It's an obligation once in a lifetime. Once you have the ability to do it, if you have the financial and the physical ability, you must perform Hajj ASAP. You can't just put it off forever. And if it is the opinion of the majority of the scholar that if somebody delays Hajj, right? If somebody has the ability to perform Hajj and they choose to delay Hajj, and somehow they lose the opportunity, or they lose their means, then they're going to be held accountable because they had the opportunity to do it and they chose not to. And Allah knows best. So we should encourage everyone. Children are not, of course, expected to perform Hajj. However, if they do perform Hajj, it will count. They will be rewarded for it. They will be blessed. Their parents are going to be rewarded for it. However, it will not suffice. So once they reach the age of maturity, of puberty, they will have to perform their own Hajj at any point, at some point. If somebody is not sound mentally, they're also exempt from performing Hajj. If you're financially not able to perform Hajj, or if you're physically unable to perform Hajj, or if there is considerable amount of danger, so the road, the path, especially in the old days, so if there is a higher risk involved and the person genuinely fears for their life or for their safety, they will be exempted from performing Hajj. There is also another element to be added to this, which is if a woman who needs a mahram to travel for Hajj, and when it comes to mahram, or people usually say guardian, company. Guardian is not the correct answer, because the mahram's role is not to, he doesn't go as a guardian, because a woman's son, 15-year-old son, can be mahram. So the most more accurate description would be a male companion, and a mahram is either the husband or any male family, any male related to the woman whom she can't marry permanently. Father, grandfather, great-grandfather, son, great-grandson, great-grandson, brother, whether it's half-brother or full brother, uncle, maternal, paternal, nephew, whether it's from the sister or from the brother's side, right? So these are the maharim. And whether they are related to her directly through blood, or through foster, or what we call milk father or milk brother, or foster father or foster brother. In other words, the husband of a woman that breastfed her, or the brother of that woman, or the son of that woman. All these are considered to be maharim or mahram. Okay. In addition to someone that she cannot marry permanently due to marriage. So for instance, son-in-law, whether that son-in-law is currently married to her daughter or not married to her daughter, or whether he's the widow of her daughter. So once a woman's daughter marries a man, and that marriage is valid and it goes through, then that man becomes a mahram. So his mother-in-law will be permanently his mahram, right? Likewise, the stepmother, so the father's wife, once that marriage is consummated, she's permanently the mahram of her stepson. Okay. Okay, now let's proceed to Hajj. Now, the Prophet ﷺ tells us that Hajj and Umrah can be combined together. So you have to choose the type of Hajj you want to perform. What are the types of Hajj? Sorry. How does the clicker work? Is it this one or this one? Oh, neither one. Okay. Okay, so you have to pick one. So there are three different ways or different types of Hajj that you can perform, right? One, a Hajj where, okay, number one and number two both involve Umrah. So it's a combination of Umrah and Hajj. The difference between number one is, number one, you perform Umrah followed by Hajj. And it's called Tamattu'. See that? Tamattu'. The other one is you combine Hajj and Umrah together. Same intention, right? And it's called Qiran, which means pairing. And the third one is to perform Hajj by itself, and it's called Ifrad. Now, most people, and what this presentation is going to follow, is Tamattu', because it's the most common and it's the most convenient. It's a lot easier to perform Tamattu'. So where basically you go there in a state of ihram, especially actually for both men and women. So you go there in a state of ihram ahead of, before the time of Hajj, depending on your schedule, and then as soon as you arrive, you perform Umrah. Once you perform Umrah, you can get out of the state of ihram. And we'll explain what the state of ihram is. So it's a state where you're restricted from different things. So not to keep you locked in that state, you perform Umrah, and by performing Umrah, you free yourself from that state, and now you can just have, your regular activities, and there are no restrictions imposed upon you. So therefore, you can enjoy your time until the 8th day or the 9th day of Hajj, where you would need to get back into the state of ihram. So that's why it's very practical, very convenient. It's a lot easier. It's also what the Prophet ﷺ recommended. Of course, you will find a debate, especially if you read a lot about this subject. You'll find a debate between what is better, which one. Of course, obviously, to combine Umrah with Hajj is more rewarding, and it's better than to perform Hajj by itself. However, the two types where you combine Hajj and Umrah, whether it's Tamattu' or Qiran, which one is better? So there are, of course, scholars who are of the opinion that Qiran is better, especially the Ahnaf and others. And the evidence for that is because that's what the Prophet ﷺ did. The majority of the scholars are of the opinion that Tamattu' is better, because that's what the Prophet recommended. The Prophet himself, he could not change, because once he had made his intention, he brought his animals, he brought his camels with him, the sacrifice. The Prophet himself said that, had I known better, or had I thought about it, I would have done Tamattu'. And he ordered everyone that made the intention to perform Hajj to change their intention and do Tamattu', just because it's much more practical and easier and more convenient. So again, we're going to base this presentation upon Tamattu'. So where you perform Hajj, Umrah, you get out of the state of ihram, you wait until it's time for Hajj, the 8th or the 9th day, and then you get back into the state of ihram. Qiran is where you combine Umrah and Hajj together as one act. So you have a dual or double intention, right? Both, by the way, necessitate a sacrifice. You must sacrifice an animal if you're going to combine Umrah and Hajj. If you're going to take advantage of the season of Hajj and combine Umrah with it, then you have to sacrifice. Where when you do Ifrad, Hajj only, you don't have to sacrifice an animal. So someone might say, okay, what if so Ifrad, is it bad really to focus? No, it may not be. It's still, you still get the reward of Hajj and everything. As a matter of fact, sometimes Ifrad might be the most practical or the best option for the individual, right? Sisters may find themselves in a situation where Ifrad would be more appropriate for them. A person may not be able to perform or to afford a sacrifice. For instance, I know someone might say, well, wait a minute, How could someone pay? For instance, somebody lives in Mecca, right? And they can't afford Hajj to begin with. But since they live in Mecca, all they have to do is just get out of their home and go perform. However, if we tell them, oh no, you have to sacrifice, you have to pay $200 to sacrifice, they say, well, I can't afford it. Oh, okay, so you have the option to do ifrad. Yeah, it's going to be the same amount of time. Yeah. Okay. We address that. Okay. Now, when one intends to perform Umrah or Hajj, they must get into the state of Ihram. And we will explain what Ihram is. Ihram has to be something that you get into by the time, and it's of course better to do it at one of these 5 entry points that the Prophet ﷺ allocated. They are known as mawaqit. Mawaqit is plural of miqat. And these are the boundaries of the region. This is not necessarily the haram, this is not the sanctuary, but this is the region. So if you're within these entry points, then you don't have to. If you live within these entry points, let's say people who live in Jeddah or anyone, then you don't have to. But if you're coming from outside this region, then you must get into the state of Ihram at or by the time you reach that point, that entry point. You can't go past that point to enter the state of Ihram. Right? Now, can you do it way ahead? There's a debate amongst the scholars that while technically you can, but it's not appropriate. You should wait until you get there. Okay. But you have to come upon them or pass by them. All right. So these are the five mawaqit. And of course, if you're from the south, then the southern entry point is your miqat. If you're from the northern region or western or eastern or northwestern or northeastern, which one do you think is our miqat? Which one would be our miqat? Does this have a laser pointer? Which one is our miqat? Which one do you think, us being from America or from the west and north? This one right here. This one is normally our miqat if you're coming from here. However, if you're connecting in Qatar or Dubai or any of these eastern region, then most likely you're going to be if you're coming from this region, you're going to pass by this. If you're coming from Doha, most likely you're going to go over Qarn al-Manazil right here. This is that irq, So it depends on where you're coming from and what kind of transportation mean you're using. Normally during the Hajj season and the Umrah season, the pilots will announce that you're, in 1 hour we're going to go over the miqat, prepare yourself so you get ready, right? And, sometimes 5 minutes, depending on the airlines and how, vigilant they are, they will give you enough time, or they will tell you when they're right above the miqat. I always advise people to be ahead of the game and don't wait, because there happen to be cases where people, they're waiting, or they miss the announcement, or they doze, and then they open their eyes, they're at Jeddah airport, or they're about to land, and they just miss the miqat. So it's better, once you get ready, and they tell you you have 45 minutes or 1 hour, you're in your ihram, you go ahead and start doing the talbiyah or make your intention. No. Okay, now, what happens if somebody passes the miqat? The right thing for them to do is to go back and get into the state of ihram and enter again. That is the correct thing to do. That's the right thing to do. That's what they should or must do. That's their. However, if they can't, you land at Jeddah airport, they're not going to let you get out. You're going to go straight to Mecca. Now, if you're prevented from doing it, or if you physically cannot do it, not just because it's a matter of convenient or because you don't feel like it. So let's say if somebody is driving and they have the flexibility, they pass their miqat here, and they pass it by, let's say, 10 miles, and then they realize they passed, they need to go back. It can easily be done. Right? But if someone didn't know, or if someone is locked in a cockpit or in a fuselage, big huge tube floating in the air, you can't get out of it and say, I'm going to go by myself. And then once you land in Jeddah, I mean, there are all kinds of rules and regulations. You can't do it. So then it becomes either impossible or extremely difficult. At this point, then your option is to go to carry on with your ihram, and then you have to pay a penalty, right? And that penalty is called dam, where you sacrifice an animal. Of course, you don't have to do it yourself, but you can designate someone to do it for you, inshallah. Okay. Entering the state of ihram. Now, when it comes to Umrah, if I may, Umrah and Hajj, they have pillars, certain elements that without them, neither the Hajj or the Umrah will be valid. Umrah has 3. Hajj has 4. Right? The 3 are ihram, right? To get into the state of ihram, I will explain what that means. 2, tawaf. No. Okay. 2 is tawaf, and we'll explain what that means. 3 is sa'i. If someone misses any of these or doesn't choose not to do them, it's not valid. The whole thing will not work. It's like praying and not prostrating. It's a rukn, right? You can't say I forgot it. Even if you forget it, then it invalidates the whole, the Hajj or the Umrah. When it comes to Hajj, there is a 4th pillar to be added, and that is to go to Arafah. So it's the same: ihram, tawaf, sa'i, and then you add one more for Hajj, which is Arafah, going to Arafah. Again, the difference between pillar and other obligatory rituals is that certain obligatory rituals, if you miss them, if you forget them, if you violate them, then there's a way to compensate for them. But rukn, what they consider to be a pillar, that means that if it's missing, for whatever the reason is, that it invalidates the whole thing. So it has to be, you have to redo the Hajj or the Umrah. Okay, so ihram is a state of mind. It's a state of mind that has internal and external component. Similar to wudu. Wudu has internal, you have to have the intention. For instance, if somebody, according to the majority of the jurists, if somebody washes their body parts that they normally wash when they perform ablution, without the intention of this being ablution, would it count? The majority of the scholars say no, it doesn't count. If you do the same thing, right? If you wash the same body parts and reverse the order, you don't follow the order, you wash your left foot first and then right foot, and then you wipe your hair, and then you wash your face, it won't count. So you have to follow a particular procedure with a particular intention in order for it to. So there is an mental component, internal component to it, and then there is the external practice itself, right? In ihram, you are getting yourself. So basically, you're committing yourself to perform Umrah or Hajj to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to go through the rituals. So, and you are in that state of mind, that mental state of mind, right? Until you're done with what you have committed yourself to do. If you don't go through with the whole thing, you'll be in a state of ihram until you do it. No matter how long it takes you, a year, 2, 3, 4. And the reason I'm saying this is just for us to realize that this is a serious commitment, because we had cases of people who go and then they change their mind, or they sleep over, they oversleep, and they don't want to join, do certain things that are necessary for their Hajj to be completed, or for their Umrah to be completed. They miss it, and then it's departure time. They're like, oh, I didn't do this, I didn't do that. I was like, okay. So he's like, well, I guess, can I do them? No. Well, I will skip it. No. I will ask Allah for forgiveness. You're in a state of ihram. You will not get out of it until you do this. So what's the solution? You will remain in a state of ihram until you're able to get a visa again and come back the following year and finish what you have committed yourself to do. So it's a serious thing. And during this time, you're not supposed to do certain things. I remember one time one of the shuyukh, someone asked him a question, and then he asked the questioner, how long ago was this? And they said, 10 years ago. He's like, oh my God, you have been in a state of ihram for the past 10 years. And now you ask the question? So it's a serious commitment. You're committing yourself, you're restricting yourself. Just like when you say Allahu Akbar and you start salah, right? You locked yourself in this state. You can't say, oh, I changed my mind. وَلَا تُبْطِلُوا أَعْمَالَكُمْ. In the Hanafi school of fiqh, even if it's a nafil, even if it's a voluntary prayer, you can't interrupt you can't just get out of it. If you do, then you have committed, it's a serious violation. So what happens if you're in salah and you miss something? You want to pray Maghrib or Asr, right? You change your mind, or you miss something, or you forgot something, or your wudu breaks. You have to go make wudu and come back and finish it. You can't say, well, I made an attempt or two and it didn't work out, so therefore I'm not going to pray it. No, you have to. And you owe that salah until you actually perform it. Actually, when it comes to ihram, it's a much more serious state, because you're restricting yourself from different things. So one has to be, has to understand gravity of the matter. So it is highly recommended before we get into the state of ihram, to trim our nails, groom ourselves, shave or remove bodily hair, the underarm and the pubic area, and grooms oneself. Also, it's recommended to take a bath, do ghusl, and be in a state of wudu as well. Ghusl is more emphasized. Also for the men, to apply, as the Prophet ﷺ did, scented oil and on the head or the hair and the body, not on the ihram cloth. No, scented, yeah, like perfume, like musk or any of these perfumes. Also, it is, and of course nowadays, something that wasn't there back then, if someone needs to use any product, whether it's powder or deodorant, under their arm, they can apply, even if it's scented. They can apply all of this before they put on their ihram cloth, or before they get into the state of ihram. All right. Now, also, ihram, when it comes to actually making the intention, some scholars are of the opinion that it's recommended to pray 2 rak'ah. And it seems to be that one should get into the state of ihram, make their intention, and start their talbiyah after praying any 2 rak'ah. It could be mandatory prayer, it could be sunnah prayer, it could be nafil prayer, so long they can do that. If you can't do that, you're in flight. You can't do that. You don't have to, right? Though you can pray whilst seated, inshallah. The clothing is very simple, 2-piece of garment. For the men, to, some people say unstitched, but the more accurate, though this is the most, that's why you have it in quotation, right? The most accurate translation would be untailored. So it could have a stitching, but it cannot be tailored. In other words, it cannot be tailored around the whole body or a portion of the body for the men. So it cannot be, tailored like a lungi. It cannot be like pants or gloves or sleeves, right? So it's a sleeveless, 2 pieces of garment. White is recommended. That's what the Prophet ﷺ did, but it's not mandatory. It doesn't have to be. So if you see someone in a pink ihram, they're absolutely fine. If you see someone in a brown, so it can be any color, but white is highly recommended. Also, sandals or slippers. Slippers are more appropriate than sandals. Sandals is if you can't find slippers. So if you have slippers, or if you have issues. So the Prophet ﷺ told the men to make ihram, or to be in a state, to get into the state of ihram in 2 pieces of garment and slippers. If you don't have a slippers, then you can do something like this, right? Do they call these flip-flops? Whatever, Or you can do something like that, even if it has stitching. If you don't have that, or if you need to wear sandals, you can wear sandals. The most important part is that your heels have to be showing. In some schools of some jurists believe that most of your feet should be exposed, and this of course applies to the men and not the women. The women can wear shoes. What you cannot do is wear a shoe like this, right, or like that. And boots, of course, the Prophet specifically are prohibited, unless the individual has a need. They cannot, due to some medical, they have a medical reason, then that is, they will be exempt from it, and they will just have to compensate for that. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. فَفِدْيَةٌ مِّن صِيَامٍ أَوْ صَدَقَةٍ أَوْ نُسُكٍ. You can do fidya, either fast or give sadaqah or sacrifice. And we'll explain this when we get there, inshallah. And it's to be done there in Mecca. All right? Okay. So, yes. Yeah. Now, such restrictions so far don't apply to women. The restrictions that apply to both men and women are the following. Don't cover the face. Don't cover the hands. And of course, for the men, don't cover the head. So you can't wear like a kufi, hat, or put your ihram on directly on the head. You can hold an umbrella, but you can't have something touching like on top of your head. For the women, the only 2 things that apply is don't cover the hands or the face. What's that? This is while you're in a state of ihram. Okay, so what is ihram? How do you put it on? 2 pieces right here. I brought my ihram here real quick. The bottom one is called izar. Izar. The top one is called rida. All right, just in case you read it in the hadith or somewhere. So you wear it like a lungi in those cultures where they have lungi. So there are 2 ways of doing this, depending on your size and the size of your ihram. Some people do this, right? And they do this, right? And then you put the belt on. Now, I can't afford to do that. This is too much, right? this is too, I mean, it's still, I mean, convenient. But what I do is shorten this, pull this out further, put this over like this, bring this over it, fold it, right? Still can walk, you know. And then what I do is I put the belt. I like to use these belts. Very convenient. They have pockets in them. And what I do is I put the belt on. You can use a belt even if the belt has stitching, right? And I tighten it, of course, before I put it on. I may have to now loosen it a little bit. Wow, I gained weight since Umrah. Right? Oh boy. No, it is. Oh, actually, somebody borrowed it. You're right. Somebody borrowed it. So, okay. I mean, you get the idea, right? Then what I do is, right, fold this and tuck it underneath. So this is not going to go anywhere. Because remember, brothers, you're not going to be wearing underwear or anything underneath, right? Right? And then you're going to be topless. So the other piece, which is identical to this in size, it's similar to it, and it's called rida. That is going to go over your shoulders, right? And of course, some people use pins, safety pins, and stuff like that. I tell people, you really, if you get used to it, if you know how to handle it, then you shouldn't need safety pins. They're dangerous. They can fall during the tawaf, you know, and hurt people. I discourage people from using them. And so what if it falls off your shoulder? You just hold it like this, right? But one of the best ways to do it is, remember how that is tucked in and it's very tight here? So what I do is I shorten the left side, tuck it in underneath, so that way my belly and my navel, you know, all that area is covered. Tuck it in, right? So the bottom part, remember, is going to be coming here, right? So it's very tight. And then this is the longer side, right? You throw this over your left shoulder, right? Until it's time for tawaf. When it's time for tawaf, of course, the initial tawaf, the sunnah is to expose the right shoulder. So you're going to do that, and you expose your right shoulder. Once you're done with tawaf, you cover the right shoulder, and you keep it covered for the rest of your umrah or your hajj. You see a lot of people walking around the whole time like this. No, you're not supposed to. And especially in salah, it's makruh. It's disliked for the men to uncover their shoulders. When we stand before Allah, we should be standing, and we should cover both shoulders. Yes. Yes. So what I said is the initial tawaf, when we go around the Kaaba, right before you begin the tawaf, that is the only time where you expose your right shoulder. Other than that, it should be always covered. So when it's time to do that tawaf, that initial tawaf, it's called tawaf al-qudum or tawaf al-umrah, right? That first tawaf, not the rest of the tawaf, just that first tawaf, you're going to expose by dropping it beneath your right arm, right? And then you expose the right shoulder like this. And that's it. So once you finish the tawaf, and before you pray the 2 rak'ah after the tawaf, you cover your shoulders and just you stay covered like that. So this is the ihram clothing. Say that again. After you finish all 7, of course. Yeah. Okay. So the state of ihram. In order for you to get into the state of ihram, you must make the intention and the commitment, and it's recommended to verbalize it. Though it is a mental state, but you're supposed to verbalize it. So you can say, oh Allah, I intend to perform Hajj, make it easy for me and accept it from me. Oh Allah, I intend to perform Umrah, make it easy for me and accept it from me. If you know Arabic, you can say that. Allahumma inni nawaytu al-Umrah. Or you can simply say, Labbayk Allahumma Umrah. Right? And if when it's time for Hajj, you say Labbayk Allahumma Hajjan. Right? Now, it's, of course, we mentioned this tip that please pay attention to the miqat. You don't want to oversleep, right? So do it ahead of time. Don't do it way too early, as we mentioned. Now, there is also something called ishtirat. Sheikh, I don't know what your opinion is on that. Sheikh Mustafa joined us. There's something called ishtirat. Some scholars recommend. Ishtirat is basically when you make the intention. When you say, oh Allah, I'm committing myself, or I intend to make Hajj, or I intend to make Umrah. What happens if once you made this commitment, you got to Jeddah airport, and for some reason they tell you need to go back? Or you had a medical condition or emergency that prevents you from performing Hajj. You're now in a state of ihram. You're locked in a state of ihram until you perform whatever you committed to do. So the scholars say that when you, at the time of making your intention, include in that intention a condition, and it's called ishtirat. That condition is basically you're saying to Allah, oh Allah, I intend to do Hajj and Umrah unless something prevents me from doing it, so I am free at that point. And in the Arabic, I mean, the way we say it in Arabic is Allahumma inni nawaytu al-umrah, or labbayk Allahumma umratan fa in habasani habis, or wa in habasani habis. And if something prevents me, famahilli haythu habastani. So I am relieved from this. I relieve myself from this now. Oh Allah, relieve me from it wherever I am stopped. So we always encourage people to do this so that you don't have to deal with, so things don't have to get complicated if something prevents you from going through with your commitment. Once you make the intention or you make the ihram, you begin talbiyah. Along with your intention, you begin talbiyah. Labbayk Allahumma labbayk, labbayk la sharika laka labbayk, innal hamda wan ni'mata laka wal mulk la sharika lak. This is the most common, the most authentic version of it, done by the Prophet and his companions. And you repeat that as much as you can. It means, here I am, O Allah, here I come to you, O Allah, here I come. You have no partners. Here I am coming to you, O Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All praise and blessings are to you, as well as the dominion. You have no partners. This is simply what it means. And of course, I highly recommend to people to reflect upon the meaning, just not repeat it with everybody. Reflect as to what it means. This is the essence of Hajj. This is what Hajj is all about. This is what Umrah is all about. This is what the entire journey is all about. This should be a state of mind and spirit. So when we go there, sometimes people say, they go there and they start demanding things. Oh, where is this? Where is that? Trivial things. And they forget why they're there. And sometimes you hear people saying, I didn't pay money. I didn't come all the way here to be treated like this or to do that. Why did you come? You came in response to the call of Allah. Labbaik is actually what ancient people used to say when somebody calls them. So when somebody calls you, when you respond to them, you say labbaik. Right? So you are responding to the call of Ibrahim alayhi salam, to the call of Allah that He made through Ibrahim alayhi salam. So let's keep that in mind, inshallah, and maintain that spirit. And you're supposed to say it out loud, especially during transitions. You say it, and then you take a break. Once you land in Jeddah, you say it. When you get off the plane, you repeat it. You get into the shuttle, you say it. You get to the immigration area. While you're waiting, you say it. You move from the immigration area to the, they herd you to the other area. You say it. right? You get into your bus on your way to Mecca, you say talbiyah, right? You reach your hotel, you say talbiyah, you go to your room, you say it. You come back from your room once you rest and you're on your way to perform Umrah, to the, you're going to the Grand Mosque, you say it. So whatever, especially when you're through, during transition, and you say it all the way until it's time to start your tawaf. Once you begin your tawaf, you stop the talbiyah. So real quick, let's go through the prohibitions of ihram. Once you're in a state of ihram, right? Yes. Okay. If I right now take all of my clothes off and put the ihram on, right? I'm not in a state of ihram just because I have ihram on. It's called ihram, but because it's what you wear during ihram, but it's really izar and rida. It's nothing, right? I'm only in a state of ihram once I make that verbal commitment in a statement. Now, Sheikh Mustafa, if somebody is sitting here in California, they're like, oh, next week I'm going for Umrah. Can they do ihram now? They're not supposed to. You're not supposed to do. Yeah. I mean, it's going to become a dilemma. It's going to be a very, yeah. No, not only that, but it's going to be a dilemma. There will be scholars who will say, no, it's not valid. It's ridiculous. Because you're not even there. You're not in the region. Right? So you have to get to the region. You have to reach the region in order for you to do ihram. Right? So it's a mental state that you choose to put yourself in it. Once you put yourself in it, you can't get out of it unless and until you fulfill whatever you have committed yourself to do. So it's a pledge you're making. So it's a state of mind that constitutes certain restrictions. So now you said, oh Allah, I'm in a state of ihram. So what state of ihram means technically is the following. Yes, go ahead. Yes. Okay. For those who are taking connections, if you're taking a non-stop flight from here, from the LAX to Jeddah, the only airlines that does that is Saudi Airlines, and they have an area to change your clothes. So of course I would advise you to have, for the sisters, you have a lot of flexibility. You don't have to change anything. For the brothers, of course, the advice is make sure, and by the way, for all of the brothers who are going for Hajj or Umrah, make sure you pack your ihram, at least one set, in your carry-on. Otherwise, we're going to end up coming out of the plane wearing some of these sheets that they give you on the, right? Or blankets. We had people wear blankets. So make sure that you pack your ihram and your slipper. Ihram and a slipper in your carry-on. So if you're taking a direct flight, 2 hours before you landing, right? Make sure that you put it on, you get ready, because within an hour from that, you're going to be reaching miqat, right? If you're connecting, let's say through Dubai, Doha, Amman, whatever, Egypt, Turkey, right? Of course, if your layover is long enough for you to change into your ihram, and of course layover should be long enough, then of course you change at the airport. If you're staying overnight, you have a hotel, whether it's in Istanbul or Dubai, then you're fortunate because you can rest, you can be fully rested, and eat your meal and take another bath, make ghusl and all of that, and then put on your ihram on your way to the airport. Of course, I advise you to do that because it's only a 2.5 hour flight, or it's a very short flight, and it's a lot easier for you to manage your ihram, especially for the brothers. So during the state of ihram, you're not supposed to wear any clothing, any tailored clothing, under gloves, underwear, undershirt. You're not supposed to cover your head. This is for the men. No covering of the face for both men and women. No covering of the feet for the men. Right? No trimming, shaving bodily, or removing or plucking bodily hair, or skin or nail. Now, how about I need to scratch and some hair falls? your intention was not to pull or pluck your hair, it's to scratch. How about combing the hair? You can comb your hair, right? How about taking bath? You can take a bath. So we're talking about intentionally plucking or removing or cutting or trimming bodily hair or clipping your nails. All of these are not, they're not permissible, they're prohibited. Any violation will constitute dam. No perfume during this time, right? Whatever you had before you put your ihram on is fine. Now, hand sanitizers, lotions, things that you need, products that you need to use, right? Deodorant, if it's unscented, you're fine. If it's scented, then that's a violation of the state of ihram. And and one of the most major prohibitions in this state is even is to have intimacy or intercourse while in the state of ihram. Because while you're in the state of ihram, you're not supposed to propose, entertain any marriage proposals, no romance, no. Someone might say, "What?" I mean, sometimes people say, "I'm in a sacred state," and I see somebody. Why don't I propose it? You can't. You cannot entertain marriage or anything of a sexual nature should not be entertained or considered during this time. Another also major violation is hunting or killing animals while in the state of ihram. Okay, and also one should avoid sins at all times, but during the state of ihram it becomes even a more serious issue. So one should not do any of these things. Violating ihram for medical reasons or severe conditions constitutes fidya to compensate for it. Should we inflict suffering? Some people think, okay, the harder the Hajj or the Umrah, the better it is. That's not from the teachings of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, any questions? Yes. You're supposed to, okay, remember the miqat, remember the 5 entry points? Okay, you're going to get into the region. So you need to be in that state of ihram, wearing that clothes before you enter. So by the time you land in Jeddah, you're inside the zone. So it will be too late. So that's why, Again, because of the restriction. You're restricting yourself, right? Remember, it's like holding everything, like you're refraining from you're asking about the wisdom behind it. Maybe I'll let Sheikh Mustafa explain that later, inshallah. Yes. Good question. Can you change your clothes, your ihram? You got to Mecca, your ihram got dirty, you have another clean set. Can you put it on? Of course you can put it on. You got to Mecca, you need to rest before you go perform tawaf or perform umrah in your hotel room. Can you take off your ihram and cover yourself with your sheet and sleep? Yes, you can. And then put it on. Yes, you can. You need to take a shower. Can you take a shower and then put on the same set or a new set, a fresh set of ihram? Yes, you can. For women, of course, you can change as many times as you want, as needed, of course. Yes? Okay, for those who arrive Medina and they visit Medina first, you don't have to wear ihram until you're ready to leave Medina. So once you're in Medina and ready to leave Medina to come to Mecca, you put on your ihram or you get ready, and you're going to, once you leave Medina, 20 minutes drive, you'll be in the miqat of the people of Medina, and you perform your ihram there. So it's one of the most convenient ways of doing it. What's that? The intention should be done right at or before, just before you get to the miqat. And when you're flying, this could happen relatively very quick, right? So therefore, we tell people, prepare yourself ahead of time, maybe half hour when they make the announcement. Now get ready, give yourself 5 minutes, internalize what it is that you're about to do, and then you start your niyyah and your talbiyah. By the time you finish, the pilot will announce that we are now above the miqat or by the miqat. So, yes. Yeah. Yeah. The prayer that you pray before you, um, yeah, you can do that. You can do that while you're sitting in your seat, uh, in flight. You can perform 2 rak'ahs while sitting, and then you know. So let's say they tell you in 45 minutes or in 30 minutes we're going to arrive at the miqat. You have already, remember, I said an hour before, just make sure that you put your ihram on. You have your ihram on, you're in wudu. When they make the announcement that there's half an hour left, maybe that's a good time for you to pray your 2 rak'ah. Once you pray your 2 rak'ah, you make your dua, you make your you internalize, and then you make your intention. That's 10 minutes. So that means like you're within 10 to 15 minutes from the miqat, right? So which is perfectly fine. Once you reach Mecca, yes. What do you say? Can you do it in Istanbul? Can you make your ihram, your niyyah, talbiyah in Istanbul or in Dubai? No, not in the plane. At the airport. The niyyah. No, you can put the definitely you can put the you can yeah, you should put it and board your flight in the clothing. But should you be in the state of ihram then? Why? You know. So what I usually do is I have my undershirt, right? Because it gets cold, and I have my ihram top on. And right when they say we're about to arrive the miqat, I take off my undershirt and cover myself and get ready. Yes? Yeah. Oh, you're stuck there. Yeah? Yes. So at least wait until you take off and you realize that, and until you start cruising, then you say, yeah. But again, the most wise thing to do is to wait until you are about to reach the miqat or you're at the miqat. I think it's too early to do it before that. But you have the option. Okay, how are we doing on time? Okay. So, are you ready just to cover tawaf and or umrah? It's very simple. Ready? Can we get into? Okay. All right. So once you arrive Mecca, it's recommended that you begin with the haram. However, nowadays it's a long journey, it's a long travel, you need to rest. So you're going to go straight, you're not going to go straight into the haram. They're going to bring you to your hotel room, you have to get your hotel room. Once you get into your hotel room, I recommend for people to get themselves ready, physically, mentally, to get ready, so that they're fully well rested and ready to go to perform their umrah or their tawaf al-qudum, right? So prepare yourself. If you need to rest, you can rest, right? And then head to the Masjid al-Haram. Out of your room, when you leave your room and now you are on your way to perform tawaf, whether it's tawaf al-qudum or tawaf al-umrah, you need to start making talbiyah, labbaik Allahumma labbaik, labbaik la sharika laka labbaik, to the best of your ability until you reach the Kaaba. Of course, you can enter the haram from any of the gates, because sometimes you have these books that tell you the Prophet entered from such and such gate. And then the people go and look for that gate because they want to enter from that. First of all, it's not a condition. Secondly, what's that? Oh, the same gates were not there. The gates were not there during the time of the Prophet ﷺ. Thirdly, that gate is blocked. The authorities block it. Actually, it was under that whole section was under construction, so it was blocked. And now, even if it's not under construction, they block it because guess what? Everybody wants to enter from there. You can have a stampede. It becomes very dangerous. Just to show you, enter from whichever gate is convenient. Remember, the Prophet ﷺ performed one Hajj, right? And the Prophet ﷺ entered from whatever gate was available to him, was immediately there in front of him. He could have only entered from one gate. Perhaps if the Prophet performed more hajjs or umrahs, like, maybe he would have entered from a different gate, depending on which direction he came from. Right? So you enter from whichever gate is most convenient and and it doesn't make a difference. Unless, of course, the gate is blocked due to crowd, control, or they redirect you or they reroute you to go from somewhere else, or unless you're trying to basically make a maneuver because you're trying to avoid something, you can enter from any gate. Once you enter, this is the corner that you want to start from. And it's called Rukn al-Hajar al-Aswad, the corner of the black stone. This is a Rukn al-Yamani, right? So tawaf must begin from there. Tawaf has to begin from there. And you have to make sure that you go around the Kaaba to your left counterclockwise. You do talbiyah until you reach the haram. Of course, when you enter the haram, find appropriate dua book, that authentic dua book that teaches you what to say when you enter the haram. There are certain du'as that you make. Once you reach your start point, you expose, for the men, you expose your right shoulder, and of course you begin your tawaf, and you make these 7 circles around the Kaaba, starting with the black stone, and you go around the Kaaba doing dhikr, reading Quran, making dua, asking God for forgiveness. You can say anything. Tawaf is like salah, except that you can talk in it, right? You must be in a state of wudu. You must be in complete state of tahara and wudu. If your wudu breaks, then you have to repeat your wudu, right? And repeat whatever you missed, right? So you go 7 times around it. Each time you reach the corner before the black stone, which is known as a Rukn al-Yamani, right? You say dua that Allah taught us in the Quran, رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. You say that as many times as you can, or you say it 3 times and that's it. And then once you reach the black stone corner, then you have completed 1 circle. Now, when you begin, and every time you reach the black stone, it's recommended to kiss the black stone. However, if you can't kiss it, it's too crowded, and chances are you won't be able to, should you fight to kiss it? No, absolutely not. The sunnah is to kiss the black stone if it's empty and if you can approach it. If you can't approach it, the sunnah, the very same prophet that taught us to kiss the black stone, told us or taught us to wave at it. Or, of course, if you can touch it with if you have a cane or something, you can touch it with it, that's fine. If you can't, then you just wave at it. Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, and you follow. You follow the flow, and you go. Every time you reach the black stone, you do that. You do that 7 times. Once you're done with your tawaf, once you're done with your tawaf, you pray 2 rak'ahs. I must say, for those who are performing qiran or ifrad, if you're performing only hajj, you have to do this tawaf. In your case, it's going to be called tawaf al-qudum. If you are performing tamattu, umrah, and then hajj, which is the case with most of us, then it's called tawaf al-umrah. It's together, it's one, right? And you're in a state of ihram, you perform this tawaf. What else do you have left? Sa'i, to finish your umrah. So you see how simple umrah is? You just add sa'i to it and you're done, and you can get out of the state of ihram. If you're not doing tamattu', then after you do this tawaf, you're going to remain in a state of ihram until it's time for hajj. Yes. 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 That's a dua. You do. I just want to show you something about want to show you the black stone. Oh, there's no picture of it, but I thought there was a picture of Maqam Ibrahim. There is the station of Ibrahim, right? It is recommended that you pray behind it. If you can't pray immediately behind it, you move far enough and you keep a safe distance between you and people who are making tawaf, and you pray. If you can't, if it's all full, then you can pray anywhere as long as you're facing the Kaaba. You pray 2 rak'ahs. And in these 2 rak'ahs, like the sunnah for Fajr, you recite in the first rak'ah, قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ لَا أَعْبُدُ مَا تَعْبُدُونَ. And in the second rak'ah, you recite قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. With that, your tawaf is done. And you start heading towards sa'i, to perform sa'i, to complete your umrah. On your way to sa'i, it's recommended to drink zamzam. Again, it's recommended, right? Of course, you want to make sure that you hydrate yourself. This is a sample of zamzam water. This is actually real zamzam water. It's not, so inshallah, during the break, you can sample it, inshallah, just to make sure that whatever you drink in the haram tastes the same. Right? So you drink zamzam, and then sunnah is you drink as much as you can. Hydrate yourself and drink as much as you can. Good thing is that you don't need wudu. It's recommended to have wudu, but you don't have to have wudu for sa'i. Right? So if you need to take a break or go to the bathroom, you can do that, and then you head to what is known as a sa'i area. Now, in the sa'i area, the sa'i area begins with the Mount of Safa. This is what it looks like now. Well, actually, this is an old picture, right? This is an old picture? Maybe this is the top, second floor or something. Yeah. So, wudu is recommended. It's not a condition. So you begin with Safa, the hill of Safa, as Allah said, إِنَّ الصَّفَا وَالْمَرْوَةَ مِنْ شَعَائِرِ اللَّهِ فَمَنْ حَجَّ الْبَيْتَ أَوْ اعْتَمَرَ فَلَا جُنَاحَ. So Allah began with the Safa. The Prophet said, I will begin with whatever Allah began with, and he began with Safa. Right? And that's where sa'i begins. You ascend, you face the Kaaba, you say Allahu Akbar, and again, there are these recommended authentic supplications that you can recite when you are on top of a Safa, facing the Kaaba. And once you're done with that, you make your dua, and then you descend, and you walk towards Marwa. You walk in tranquility, in serenity, internalizing the whole lessons of Hajj, and making dhikr, reading Quran, remembering Allah. You have an option. It doesn't have to be any of these, sometimes people get these booklets that tell you what to say in the first round, second round, or in the first leg, the first flight and the second flight. All of these are not necessarily founded upon authentic. I mean, it's a collection of dua somebody put together. You can make your own collection. I tell people, dua should be, when you supplicate, when you pray, it should be heartfelt. It should be personal, right? So focus on what you're there for. You're asking God for forgiveness, for guidance, for prosperity, for safety and security, to get closer to Him, for harmony. Whatever it is that you're focusing on, let that be your dua. Ask Allah for forgiveness, and do a combination of different things. Because sometimes when you repeat the same thing over and over again, you lose focus. So it's in order to help yourself focus and think about what you're saying, you need to change and say different du'as. So you head towards Al-Marwa, doing in this state, and then it's recommended for the men, when you reach the green zone, I call it the green zone because now it's marked with green lights. When you reach the green zone, and it's very visible, you run or jog. You run as fast as you can. Now, there's a debate as to why is it the place where Hajar ran, or is it because the Prophet told the companions to do that and show Quraysh that they're still physically fit and strong. So that's why some scholars recommend it only for men, others for both. I recommend it for For the men, of course, if your knees are good and if you're not, not everyone has to to do that. Then you ascend al-Marwa until you reach the top of the hill. Because sometimes people just go, they're like, oh, it's very steep, khalas. They make a U-turn. No. You need to make sure that you reach Safa, you reach Marwa. Finish finish the sa'i. You haven't reached, so you have to reach your destination, and it's recommended that you face the Kaaba again and you make dua. The Prophet made a lengthy dua. With that, one trip or one leg or one flight is done. What you need to do is repeat, go in the opposite direction towards Safa to do your second. Come back for the third, go back for the fourth, come back for the fifth, sixth, seventh. You end up at when? Where? Marwa. You begin with a Safa, you end it with Marwa. Every time you find yourself on a Safa, that means that is either the first or an even number. You have just finished the second or the fourth or the fifth, the sixth. Anytime you are at Marwa, that means that's your first, third, fifth, or seventh, right? Because sometimes people, and subhanAllah, in spite of repeating this, sometimes someone comes out of the group saying, oh no, I did a round trip. Like they end up doing like 14 of them. Because they come, and you're like, mashallah, how long did it take you to make sa'i? It took me 2.5 hours. I was like, why? Everybody finished in like 45 minutes to an hour. Mashallah, you think that, mashallah, your dua was very long. He's like, yeah, because, man, to go back and forth, around. It's like, wait a minute, explain to me what you exactly did. And then it turns out that they did extra, right? So, sa'i is a complete, tawaf around the Kaaba is a complete circle, right? Sa'i is each leg, each trip, each flight that you make from Safa to Marwa or from Marwa to Safa is considered one. So you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's it. So it will be total of 3.5 round trips. Okay? And then once you're done with that tawaf, your sa'i is over. And with sa'i, if you are in a state, if you're performing umrah, with sa'i, that would be the only thing that is left for you is to release yourself from the state of ihram. Come out of the state of ihram. In order for you to do that, you do that by shaving or trimming your hair for the men. And for the women, by trimming the hair. Right? Shaving, of course, is more recommended and better, but trimming the hair will be also valid. Again, women do not shave, trim. And of course, what I tell, and with this, your umrah is complete, and you can take off your clothes, go change, you can put on perfume. You're fully out of the state of that restriction of ihram. You can enjoy your time in Mecca until it's time to perform Hajj, and you can get into the state of ihram for Hajj on the 8th day from your hotel room, or on the 9th day, depending on what your Hajj schedule or program is. What I tell the sisters is when you cut your hair, make sure that you cut maybe half an inch or an inch of hair across. Because sometimes some people say, of course, this is the opinion of Imam Shafi'i, but I believe that the opinion of the Jumhur of the scholars is more strong, where the person has to trim from all over. I don't know, what's the Hanafi you can do? Few pieces? Cross. Okay, yeah. So because in the Shafi'i school of fiqh, if you do 3 or more, right, 3 strands of hair or more, then that's, But again, you're supposed to, especially what I tell the men is that if you're going to trim your hair, shorten your hair, then it should be obvious that you did trim. You can't just cut a couple from here and a couple from here and few from here and say, khalas, I'm done, right? And for the ladies, you have a couple of options. Either you cut cross, or you braid your hair, you bring it all together, and you cut from, you trim the ending of it. You trim an inch, half an inch or more of the hair. and with that you'll be done. Inshallah, you can go take a bath, change, put perfume, go enjoy your open buffet meals, and of course take advantage of your presence in Mecca. Make sure that you pray every salah inside the haram. It's multiplied by 100 times. It's equivalent to or better than 100,000 in any other mosque other than the mosque of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And prepare yourself. I tell people, if you're doing tamattu' and you have few days between that and Hajj, pace yourself. Don't overexert yourself. Don't over burden yourself. Drink plenty of fluid. Take your vitamins and whatever, because a lot of people get excited, get carried away. They go for tawaf every day. Some people go for a second umrah. They get out. They want to do as many umrahs as possible. And by the time it's Hajj time, on the 8th or the 9th day, they're exhausted, physically done. Remember, you're primarily there for Hajj, not to score or to perform as many umrahs as you can on behalf of everyone that passed away in your family. Right? The Prophet did one umrah, or he recommended one umrah. They waited, and then they made their Hajj. So make sure that you conserve your energy and you focus on what you're there for. May Allah bless you and accept from you all, inshallah. Okay. Yes. Any rule? Yeah. I mean, of course, it has to be mahram. It can be another female or your husband or, yeah. For the men, of course, it can be anyone, of course, but now it's more convenient to go to any of these shops. Just a tip, before you go and hand your head over to anyone to shave it, just look closely, see, let them, shave for one or two people before you. Make sure that they give them clean, appropriate shaves. Make sure that there is not a lot of bleeding taking place. And also, by the way, it is your right to demand that they wear gloves and put masks. Per the rules and regulations of the health department there, you can, definitely they have to. They have to change the blade. Actually, they don't change the blade, they use a different blade. Because now they use these disposable blades, they unwrap it in front of you, cut it, and then they use, right? And then they throw it immediately. However, you can also demand that they wear gloves. Some of them don't like to do that because it's just not convenient, but you can demand that. And if they refuse, you can opt out. You can say, you're not touching my. So you can ask them to wear a mask, and if you don't want them to spray you with it, Now, while you're in a state of ihram, you're not supposed to be covering your face or putting a mask unless you need to for health reasons. There's a need for it. If there is no need for it, then you're not supposed to do it. Unlike shades or sunglasses, which are okay. Masks, surgical masks, things that people put just because of the smell or because they don't want to contract anything. If you don't need to do it, again, if your immune system is compromised and you feel like you're at higher risk, that's different. But if you're just doing it, some people do it just for the. I discourage people from doing it. Yesterday, I was just verifying this with my own teacher, Sheikh Salah Slawi. He's of the same opinion as well, that you can only wear it if you need it, and if you need it, then there is no fidya or kafara or compensation that you have to pay for it. But if there is no need for it, you're not supposed to do it. All right, barakallahu feekum, inshallah ta'ala. I'm going to hand it, Yeah, we're going to take a break, and then Sheikh Mustafa, inshallah ta'ala, is going to cover the steps of Hajj, how to perform Hajj, inshallah azza wa jal. So we're going to fast forward to the 8th day of the Hijjah. What's that? Break for 5 minutes, inshallah. So we have a 5-minute break if you're going to refresh, inshallah. In the meanwhile, I'm going to set up, put some Zamzam water for you in the back, inshallah, for those who want to sample. Just make sure that there are other people, so spare some for them.
if you can actually pull off a karate kick, because you have enough space then. If you can't do that, you could potentially fall on your face. You have to be very careful. Remember, with the ihram, it's very, very important. When you tie it, don't tie it so tight that your legs cannot spread. Because somebody accidentally pushes you from the back, and you can't step because you're walking, with such a tight thing around, you will fall on your face. So you want to make sure you tie it properly. It's very, very important. Safety tip, inshallah. We're going to get started as soon as I get the cue for the live stream people, inshallah. Okay. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ba'd. So we left off here. We have finished the Umrah part, the Umrah portion. So if you remember, there's two aspects. There's the Hajj and then there's the Umrah. And what happens is most of us are going to be doing what's called Tamattu'. And Tamattu' combines Umrah and Hajj together. So you do your Umrah as part of your Hajj and then you continue on. So we've finished the Umrah part completely. Okay. Some things, if we didn't cover, don't cut your own hair. So if you're trying to save money, if you're going to cut your own hair, I know we have a barber, mashallah, but if you're going to cut hair, don't cut it inside the masjid because that's gross. You're putting hair all over the place. Don't do that, all right? There are a lot of barbers nearby, as the Sheikh said. Question about cutting a few strands, we covered that. So now we're done. Now you're back in your normal clothing. All the restrictions of ihram are completely off. So what's going to happen now is, depending on your travel agent, depending on how many days you went early to Mecca or Medina, you're going to hang out either in Mecca for a while, right? So you may be there 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, whatever it is, until Hajj time starts. So when you get there, you perform Umrah as soon as you arrive, right? But when it comes to Hajj, you have to wait until Hajj time comes. And Hajj is on a specific day. And the Hajj starts on the 8th of Dhul Hijjah. So you have to wait. If you arrive on the 5th, you have to wait till the 8th. If you arrive on the 7th at night, you'll wake up in the morning and you start on the 8th. Okay, so depending on when you get there, you just wait, you do whatever it is, you keep praying inside the masjid. On the 8th day, what's going to happen? Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to enter your ihram, a state of ihram. So you're going to put your clothes back on one more time, and you're going to make the intention to go into Hajj. Now, keep in mind, once you get into the ihram on this day, you're going to be wearing it for 48 hours. Okay? So the last time when you got into ihram, about how long were you wearing it for? Maybe not even 12, right? What are you doing? You're putting it on, you're going on the journey. Let's say you put on in the airplane, you arrived, maybe 10, 12 hours, you could say, right? Depending on how quickly you move, right? So we're talking about 48 hours now. So you're not going to be able to use perfume and scents, and you're going to be in the same clothing. So you may probably want to keep a second pair if it gets dirty, and you want to make sure to be mentally prepared. A lot of people who are not mentally prepared, it's harder for them. If you realize it's going to be 2 days now, you're in ihram, it's not that long, but at least you're mentally prepared, you understand what you're supposed to be doing, so you don't have to worry so much, okay? So, here we are. So, Mina. So what we're going to do today, on the 8th, the only thing that you're going to do is you're going to travel to a place called Mina. And the Sheikh covered Mina and all of the different regions in the beginning? No? Okay. So there's different parts. I'm pretty sure that was in the beginning. So there's different parts that we're going to be traveling to. There's a few places that you need to know. So Mecca is the city of Mecca, right? That's where the Kaaba is. That part is very clear. Then there's few more locations. The first location you're going to travel to is a place called Mina. From Mina, you're going to travel to Arafat. From Arafat, back to Muzdalifah. Muzdalifah, back to Mina. And then Mina, back to Mecca. I'm going to show you a map of all of these things soon. So the first place we're going to travel is a place called Mina. Okay? Now, Mina is the place where Prophet Ibrahim, peace be upon him, he was told to sacrifice his son. So he was going in this area. That's what's special about Mina. So Mina is a place that's basically full of tents during Hajj time. It's going to be completely full with tents. And this is the place where you're going to spend the most amount of time in Mina in Hajj. Okay, so this is a very important place. And what you're going to do is you're going to go to this place. It also has these 3 markers, which we're going to talk about, where Prophet Ibrahim, he was throwing these stones because he was being tempted by Satan, to shaitan, to not go and perform what Allah is telling him to do. So we're about to talk about that in more detail as well. So that's pretty much what's there in Mina. And there's also a masjid. It's called Masjid al-Khayf. And this is where the Prophet, peace be upon him, prayed with his companions. Now, a lot of people will never get to visit the masjid. You probably, if it's too crowded, you will not make it there. It's not a big deal. If you're one of those, if you're single and you're strong and you're really motivated, you can get out there and you can go to Masjid al-Khayf. Otherwise, it's going to be very, very difficult, and you might get lost on your way back. So you really want to make sure, if you leave your group, you know what you're doing and you know how to get back. Okay? But these are kind of the 3 things that are special about Mina. 1, it's the place where Prophet Ibrahim a.s. was told to sacrifice his son. 2, it's the 3 markers that we're going to talk about later. And there's a masjid there, Masjid al-Khayf. Okay? So what you want to do on the first day, you're going to wake up, you get ready, you go put your ihram on. All the same rules of ihram. So real quick recap, what are some of the things you do before you put your ihram on? Shower, and then clean yourself, do the trimmings, all that stuff, and then put the clothing on, and then niyyah. Okay, that's it. So you're going to do that, and you're going to go to Mina in your ihram. So you're going to put that on, and then you're going to travel to Mina, and you're going to be in your state of ihram, and you're going to have the intention and everything going. Okay, so that's what's going to happen. In Mina, you're going to shorten your prayers every single time while you're there. So all your 4 rak'ah prayers, your 4-unit prayers, Zuhr, Asr, and Isha, they're all going to be shortened to 2 units. Okay? And then Fajr, is it going to be shortened from 2 units to 1 unit? No. Okay? Fajr is not shortened. Is Maghrib going to become 1.5? No. Okay? Only Zuhr, Asr, and Isha prayer, which are 4 units, they're going to be 2 units throughout all the days of Hajj. Okay? All the days, all 5 days that you're going to be there, or 6 days, whatever it is, it's going to... Someone's signing into our computer. That's kind of scary. All right. So all the days, you're going to be shortening your prayers. Okay? In Mina and in the other places. So we're going to talk about that. What are you going to do in Mina on the first day? So your first day of Hajj, you're going to put on your ihram, you're going to go to Mina, you're going to put your belongings in your tent that you're given, and you're just going to stay there. That's it. You're not going to do anything else. All you're going to do is stay inside your tent or in the camp, right? You're going to pray like normal. You can read Quran. You can make dua. Whatever you're going to do, you can go get some food. There's nothing else to do on this day except arrive on Mina in your ihram. Very simple. Right? That's all you got to do. Okay? So day 1, very simple. Here's the locations. Okay. So this is Mecca. This is where the Kaaba is. This is technically where you're going to be. From Mecca, you're going to travel to, where'd my arrow go? You're going to travel to Mina. Okay? Now, how are you going to travel there? Most likely, you're going to travel via bus, or you're going to travel via train. Right? And some very few of you may be walking. Right? You can see it's not that far, actually. So if you wanted to walk it, you could walk it. Many people do. You could go by bus, or there's even trains now. So most likely, a lot of you, if you're going with those, Southern California groups, you're probably going to go by train. Okay? And then from there, just to show you the map is here, later on, we're going to travel from Mina all the way to Arafat. And then on our way back, we're going back to Mina. We're going to stop in Muzdalifah, spend the night there, and then head back to Mina. And then we're going to stay in Mina. So Mina is the place where you spend most of your time in the Hajj time, okay, in the 5 or 6 days of Hajj. Okay, so that kind of gives you a map there. So we're in Mina right now. So that's one. So we're in Mina. What did we do? We arrived in Ihram. We got in Ihram. We went there. We arrived. We just spent the whole day. We went to sleep. We woke up in the morning. What's going to happen today on the 9th day? So now it's the next day, the 9th day of Dhul Hijjah. So what you're going to do is you're going to go, to give you an overview what's going to happen, you're going to leave in the morning. You're going to go to a place called Arafat. You're going to make dua there. You're going to pray there. And then you're going to head back to Muzdalifah at night. So the first thing you do is you get ready. and you leave for Arafat. Okay? You're probably going to take a train, and if you don't take a train, you're going to take a bus, because it's a longer distance, longer than Mecca to Mina. So you get there. As soon as you get to Arafat, all right, so why are we going to this place, first of all? What's special about this place? Well, first of all, this is where the Prophet ﷺ, he told us his part of Hajj. This is where he gave his farewell sermon. So his last major sermon in front of all, over 100,000 Muslims at the time, this is where he talked about ending slavery, and he talked about interest is forbidden now, and he talked about being brothers and sisters, and so this was a very important khutbah that was heard by, over 100,000 people at the time. So there's a special place there. They built a masjid called Masjid Namira on the place, in the area where he had given that sermon. You don't need to go into the masjid. It's probably going to be so busy, you won't make it into the masjid. And if you do make it to the masjid, you probably will not make it back to find your group. So unless you're with a very skilled group or a skilled guide, you don't want to go out to this area, because it's going to be really, really packed. But it's nice someday, one day you can visit, or you could take a tour after Hajj is done, and then you can go and actually see the masjid, because then it's empty, there's nobody there anymore. Yeah? There's also a place called Jabal Rahma. So there's a small little hill that's there. It's known as the Mountain of Mercy. And the reason why it's called the Mountain of Mercy is because everyone is making dua, supplicating to Allah at this place, and this is where you ask Allah for forgiveness. So it's been nicknamed the Mountain of Mercy because people will stand on that hill, and they'll be in the surrounding areas. You don't need to climb that hill, and the hill is going to be completely packed. So it's very, very difficult to even get a spot on that hill, and there's no special recommendation to do so. So you don't need to worry too much about that. There's always some people, they feel like they're missing out on something if they don't go to one of these things. You're not missing out. So I just want to make that very clear to everyone. All right? If you can get there, great. But if you can't, it's going to be very difficult to do so. Anyways, just stay with your group, and you make dua anywhere in this plain of Arafah or Arafat. It has both names, Arafah or Arafat. Make sure you're in that boundary. And there's going to be signs. And the sign says this is inside the boundary, and another sign will say this is outside the boundary. You do not want to be outside the boundary. You want to be inside Arafat. Otherwise, you're not in the right place. Don't walk outside. Don't wander outside into another region. Right? So what are you going to do? So you're going to pray Fajr in the morning at Mina, right? When you wake up in the morning on the 9th. You pray your Fajr prayer, and then you leave. You leave whenever the tour guide tells you to leave. So they're going to tell you, hey, our train is going to be ready at 9 o'clock, 9 a.m. Or it's going to be ready at 11 a.m. Or whenever it's going to be ready, you go with your group. You're going to leave for Arafat. You arrive there. Once you arrive there, you put some of your belongings and everything, and then you're going to continue to pray throughout, you're going to make dua throughout the day, and you're going to pray. You want to try to arrive before noon. Okay, that's the ideal, right? But you actually have no choice, because there's schedules going on. So as long as you arrive before sunset, sometime, you're okay. You don't need to panic. You don't need to worry. And once you get there, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be supplicating. So once you get there, what do? You're going to shorten, and you're going to combine your Zuhr prayer and your Asr prayer at the time of Zuhr prayer, if you make it in time for Zuhr prayer. If you don't make it in time for Zuhr prayer, what are you supposed to do? Just take a guess. No, if you don't make it in time for the time of Zuhr prayer, what would you do? Yeah, so you combine Zuhr and Asr in the time of Asr prayer, and you're still okay. You're still okay. So you don't worry about it. Some people will arrive late, some people will arrive early. The way it works is the trains have a schedule, and they give you a certain time. You have to make your time, basically. So you don't know what time you're going to be allotted. Most likely, you're going to make it before Zuhr, or at Asr time. Either way, you're still okay. As long as you make it before sunset, you have to make it before sunset. It's very important. You don't. If for some reason you don't, you're on a bus, your bus is not moving, and again you're single or something like that, you just jump off the bus and walk it. Because you don't want to miss getting there before sunset. That's very important. This is the most important part of Hajj. Now, if you miss this, you've basically missed your whole Hajj. So you don't want to skip this. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Al-Hajj Arafah," that Hajj is the most important part of Hajj is Arafah. So you don't want to skip this, right? So why do you combine prayers here? And you're not combining when you're in Mina. The reason you're combining here specifically is because you're going to focus on making dua the entire time. You're going to be supplicating to Allah the whole time. So that you can focus, you combine the two, and now you can focus on your dua this time, right? So you're going to focus on supplication, you're going to continue to make dua throughout the entire time until you leave. All right, so what do? You remember Allah, you make zikr, you ask Allah for forgiveness. That's one of the most important things to do at this time. You can say Subhanallah, you could say Alhamdulillah. This is the time where the tears should be shed. This is the time where you ask Allah for forgiveness for everything that you've done in your life, that you remember and that you don't remember. This is the time, this is the specific thing you should be asking for, right? And sometimes while you're here, you also keep saying talbiyah. Remember? Labbaik Allahumma labbaik. So you say that, and when do you normally say that throughout Hajj when you're in ihram? What times do you say that? Did we talk about that? The transition times? No? Okay, so it's during transition times. So what you do is whenever you're doing a transition, you want to remind yourself, remind everyone else that you're in a state of ihram and you're on Hajj. So when you transition, so for example, if you're sitting down, you're eating a meal, and then you get back up again, you do the talbiyah one more time, right? If you're going, you sit back down on the bus again, you do the talbiyah one more time. So during transitions, you will make that talbiyah specifically. You can do it any time you want while you're walking around or whatever it is, but specifically during the talbiyah time, okay? It's preferable to stand when you're at Arafat and you're making dua. And it's preferable to raise your hands for dua, and it's preferable to face the qibla, to face the direction of prayer. So everyone will most likely be doing that. It's very easy to figure out where that is. It's good to stand, but if you get tired, it's okay to sit down as well. I mean, how long are you going to stand for? Some people cannot stand for 2 hours or 3 hours straight. So you're going to be standing for a very long period of time. So stand for a little bit, and then sit down, continue to make dua. If you get really tired, or you need a break or something, read some Quran, make a transition. Or make some zikr, transition a little bit. You need to get some food, go get some food, but then go back and continue to make dua. Because this is only a few hours. And this is the most important time in your life to make dua. Outside of the last 10 nights of Ramadan, this is even more important than that. So this is the time where you want to really put the most of your energy. That's why the night before, what did you do to prepare for this? You did nothing, right? You just stayed at Mina. The point is, you're not supposed to do extra prayers. You're not supposed to stay up all night praying or something, because this is the time you're supposed to be focusing. You're not supposed to stay up at Mina and say, I'm going to do a lot of things. You're going to tire yourself out. You don't want to tire yourself out. So you want to prepare for this. That's what you did the previous night. You prepared for Arafat. So make sure you make this count. Okay? You can take breaks from your motions if you need to. You continue supplicating until sunset. Okay? Normally, when sunset comes in, what should you be doing as a Muslim? You pray Maghrib. But here, we will not pray Maghrib. So what will we do instead? You leave. You leave and you go towards Muzdalifah on your way back to Mina. But you're going to stop in this place called Muzdalifah, which is on the way, halfway as we saw. So this is the time you don't pray Maghrib, and you're going to pray Maghrib and Isha combined when you get to Muzdalifah. So we're going to talk about that in a moment. All right, few tips and questions. So, let's see, where's my tips here? Okay, so tips. It used to, in the past, that this could take 5 to up to 10 hours to get to Arafat, which sounds crazy, right? Because you could probably walk it in an hour and a half to 2 hours if you're normal health. But why did it used to happen in the past? Because there's massive traffic. Every single person performing Hajj is trying to get there in one location at the same time using the same roads, basically. So it used to be massive congestion. It could, at that time, take up to 10 hours. So the reason why I tell you that's a very few people will go through that. But if you're one of those people, you want to be mentally prepared. This is the time where you really need to get to this place, otherwise your whole Hajj will be messed up. And if your trip is delayed and you're stuck and there's traffic or whatever, guess what starts happening? You start panicking, you start cursing, you start saying, I spent so much money, why can't these Saudis get their act together? You start thinking of everyone on the street, and that's when you start losing all the benefit of your Hajj. Right? So you have to mentally prepare. Why would a 20-minute journey take 10 hours? That's just the reality of your situation. That's why there's 4 million people trying to go to the same location. This is the biggest traffic jam like in the world, okay? That's just the way it is. So mentally prepare yourself. Now, if you're on a train, you may be thinking, you know what? It's a train. It's been solved now. Problem solved. I'm sorry, the problem is not solved, all right? You're going to go and you're going to see, wow, this is a high-speed train. This is brand new. It was recently built. Everything is going to be fine. And you're going to be sitting in a line for 2 hours to get on the train, and the line's not moving. You say, what's going on here? Don't lose your temper. Just be patient. As long as you're going to get there before sunset, you're okay, right? So just stay calm, right? Generally, most people will make it. They're going to be fine. You have Sheikh Faqih to, keep you calm as well, inshallah. Give you a little massage or something like that, all right? So just mentally prepare for that. That's the way things happen. And Arafat is one of the places where there could be the most delay. Because some people skip Muzdalifah, some people go to Mina late, they go different times. Everyone is going at the exact same time to this one place. So this is probably the worst traffic situation at one particular time, okay? If you're late, you're going to lose your Hajj, so you don't want to do that. And we'll talk about what happens if you do that. Don't waste your time socializing, especially here. Okay, if you're going to go and eat some barbecue in Mina or something like that, okay. But not in Arafah. Arafah is not the time to go and enjoy buffets. I mean, you eat, obviously, but this is the time where you want to really benefit from your dua, okay? Once you leave, okay, so the Prophet ﷺ, when he left Arafat after sunset, what did he do? He stopped in the place of Muzdalifah to rest. And he went to sleep there. So we do the same thing. That's what the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ did. So we do the same thing. You leave Arafah after sunset. Do not pray your Maghrib prayer before you leave. First leave, and you're going to make it to Muzdalifah, right? And you're going to pray Maghrib and Isha prayer combined and shortened to 2 units, right? Well, 3 and 2. Don't shorten the Maghrib. Just reminding you, all right? You're going to pray at Isha time. Okay, when you get there, should be around Isha time. If you get there early, just wait till Isha time anyways. So the goal is not to be praying in Maghrib time. You pray at Isha time by the time you get there. All right? If you're early, you still delay. So even if you get there and you say, wow, my train was quick. We made it so fast. It's okay, just wait till Isha time, and then you do shorten and combine Maghrib and Isha prayer. If you're late, past midnight, you just pray the combined anyways, okay? That's not going to be a problem. What are you supposed to do in Muzdalifah? This is Jama'ah. So, okay. So what's going to happen in all these places? Good question. In Mina, in Arafah, in Muzdalifah, you're not in the city of Mecca, right? And you got people with different camps all over the place and tents and all of that. So what's going to happen is you're going to be praying with your own group. You're not going to get into one giant congregation because there's no masjid, or the masjid is not accessible because it's too packed. So you're not going to be able to pray with everyone else. You're just going to pray with your own group. That's all you're going to do. So you combine, you make your own little groups as much as you can. Okay, so it's a few more tips. So in Mina, it's very easy. You're going to have different tents. You will not get to pray even with all the people in your entire tour group. There's going to be subgroups that you all have. You're in package 3A or 3B or 4 or 5. You're going to pray with the people only in usually your bus or maybe one more bus, and there's no other space to line up more than that. When you're in Arafat, same thing. When you're in Muzdalifah, it's even more difficult because there are no tents for the most part. You're going to be sleeping out in the open. And what's going to happen is you're going to be praying in a very small group because it's going to be so packed, sleeping bags all over the place. So you're going to be praying in groups of 5 or 10 or 20 or whatever it is. Whatever you can get, just go to a group together and pray a small little jama'ah, a small little group. That suffices. Okay? So yeah, in your own group. You're not going to be praying in a large group. You pray in your own group, inshallah. Okay? So you do that combined. You come back. Yeah, so when it comes to dua, when it comes to making supplication, all that, in Arafah and all that, it doesn't need to be in a group. Right? So the best type of dua is the dua that's done individually. So I encourage people to do it individually. Sometimes if you run out of ideas on what to make dua or something like that, it's nice to have a group, someone is doing it out loud. It reminds you of what to say. Right? So you could do it as a group, you could do it individually. Whichever one, you could vary a little bit, mix them together. If you prefer to do it alone, go somewhere else. If you prefer to do it in the group, there's going to be a place where someone kind of leads people with the dua, If you understand and if you're feeling the dua, go ahead and do that as well. So either one is fine, actually. Both of them are fine. Yes. Yeah. So I meant Isha shortened. So yeah. So what you're doing is you're combining Maghrib and Isha by praying them back to back in the same time frame. So what you're going to do is when Isha time comes, let's say Isha time is 9:30 p.m. and you arrive at 9, okay, and you say, okay, Isha comes in at 9:30 p.m. You're going to pray 3 rakahs Maghrib, and immediately as soon as you finish Maghrib, you stand up and you pray 2 rakahs for Isha on the spot right there. Okay? All right, so that's what's going to happen. You go to Muzdalifah, get your sleeping bag down, find a spot, and get some sleep. All right, so that's all you're supposed to do. You're supposed to rest. And you're going to wake up and you're going to have a long day again. So you want to get some rest in Muzdalifah. You're not really supposed to stay up. You're not supposed to do anything special that specific day. Okay. One thing at Muzdalifah, I don't know why it's not here in the slide, is if you can and if it's convenient, you should collect some pebbles. You can collect either 7 pebbles or you can collect 49 pebbles. These are small little rocks. And the only reason, you don't have to do it from Muzdalifah, you could do it from anywhere, but one of the reasons is there's a lot of small little pebbles and rocks in this area. So you may want to collect it from this area because you're going to need these little stones to throw in the following days. So you can collect 7, it'll cover you for the first day. Or you can collect 49, it'll cover you for all the days that you're going to need. You're going to need 21 plus 7, 49. Okay? So get some sleep. If somebody has a difficult time staying in Muzdalifah, there's going to be maybe people in your group that are ill, they're in a wheelchair, it's very, very difficult for them. What can they do? I mean, do they have to stay in Muzdalifah? They can actually skip this part. So people who are very ill or sick or something like that, if they're skipping it, it's okay. If you're one of the people who's taking care of these elderly people, and you're pushing the wheelchair or you're in their service or something, it's okay if you skip this part as well. It's not a major component of Hajj. And you don't need to, worry about it so much that it needs to be skipped. So don't worry too much about that. So day 3, you wake up, Muzdalifah, day 3, what happens? Okay, you're going to pray Fajr in Muzdalifah. After you pray Fajr, you just make dua, zikr, read Quran until sunrise. Once sunrise is done, like I mentioned, okay, so the next day you collect pebbles. Why? Because it's a lot easier to collect pebbles when it's daytime. But if you can't, you got a flashlight and you go around. Collect 7 pebbles or 49 pebbles. These are small, about the size of a chickpea. Like those little garbanzo beans, kind of really something small. You don't want something too large, and you don't want something that's like a piece of sand. It's not going to go anywhere. You actually have to throw this thing, at least 20 feet or something like that. So what do? You leave for Mina. So you leave Muzdalifah, and you go back to Mina, where all your belongings were. Your tent was there, your suitcase is there, everything is sitting there waiting for you. So you just go back to Mina in the morning. Okay. So with regards to that, some people say, is it recommended to wash the pebbles? No, not really. What type of pebbles? Very basic chickpea-looking pebbles. That's it. Once you go back to Mina, okay, you're still on the 10th day. You woke up, you left Muzdalifah, you're in Mina now. Okay. You go to what are called the jamarat, or the stoning markers. Okay. Now these markers, I'm going to talk more about them. I'm going to show you what they look like. All right, but these things are basically, there's a story behind it. So, Prophet Ibrahim ﷺ was ordered to sacrifice his son, Ismail. Shaitan came and whispered to Prophet Ibrahim to not do this act. So what he did was, when he encountered Shaitan, when he encountered Satan, he threw these pebbles to go and keep these thoughts away from him, so he doesn't get tempted. And we go and imitate Prophet Ibrahim in what he did in order to fend off the whisperings of Shaitan. That's the wisdom behind all of this, okay? So, without going into much more detail, you can, see one of the books for more details. There are 3 markers, 3 places where Prophet Ibrahim threw these pebbles, right? On this day, today, the 10th of Dhul Hijjah, you're only going to hit one of them. And every time you throw 7 pebbles. So today, how many pebbles are you throwing? 7. 7 times 1, 7. So you're going to go to the large one. Okay, it's called large even though it's not larger. It's called Al-Jamra Al-Kubra. Okay, so basically, this is the nickname of it. You're going to go there, and you're going to see on this day, this is the only one that people are going to. You're going to see like maybe 5 or 10 people at the other ones. These are the people who don't know what they're doing. They went to the wrong one. Go to the one where everyone else is. You're at the right one. Okay? It's recommended to do this between sunrise and noontime. So remember, where were you in the morning, early morning? You were in Muzdalifah. You got back to Mina. Okay, now you're in Mina, it's daytime, right? You left after sunrise. Before noon, you want to try and go and throw these 7 pebbles. If you can't make it for some reason before noon, you can go before sunset. It's not a big deal. So if there's too many people, or it's too hot, or your group is not going, you can go before sunset. That's fine. If for some reason you don't make it, you can still go after sunset as long as you go before the dawn of the following day. It's not recommended, this is disliked. You should not try to delay, but some people will delay. Let's say it's really, really crowded. Some people have wheelchair, they want to throw their pebbles. They'll go after sunset, or if there's crowding, or let's say it was construction, someone got injured, they had to barricade the area, you're still okay. So what do? You go to that marker, okay? You walk up to the marker. Let me see if there's a picture. There's a picture. So this is what it used to look like. Who went Hajj last time and it looked like this? Okay. So whoever went before in the past, this is what it looked like. It doesn't look like this anymore. Now it looks like this giant wall. And in fact, it's even larger. So there's different levels now. Okay? And these levels, basically everyone stands around it, and they're going to throw their pebble at the marker. So in the past, it's easy to miss, as you can see. Now it's very difficult to miss. You really can't miss this wall. Okay? And this is what the complex looks like. So there are, if you follow me here, see these 3 pictures here? 1, 2, and 3. These are giant walls here that are markers. These ones are under these 3 shades. This is a shade, 1, 2, and 3. Okay? So these 3 shades, the wall goes down all these different levels. This is like a giant parking structure looking thing. The wall goes down all these levels. So you can go on any one of these levels and you're going to encounter this wall. Okay? And all you're going to do is you're going to walk up to it, right? You're going to stop up where this ring is. You can't walk further than this thing. And you're going to throw your pebbles right at this wall. You don't have to launch it hard, right? All you need to do is just throw the pebble so that it taps it. Remember, this is all symbolic. You're going to see some people, they take off their sandals and they start throwing the sandals and all that. Shaitan is not here at the wall, okay? This is symbolic, right? So if you injure someone, right, then Shaitan won. Actually, you did the opposite of what you're supposed to be doing, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to arrive at the wall, okay? The large one, the one that you're supposed to be stoning that day, you walk up to that barrier that we showed. You stop, okay? You stop saying your talbiyah. So until this point, you were saying, labbaik Allahumma labbaik. Once you arrive there, stop saying your talbiyah, okay? Take your 7 pebbles, keep them with you, take them out of your pouch, and you throw them 7 times. Each time you throw one, you say Allahu Akbar. You throw the next one, say Allahu Akbar. Take out the next one, Allahu Akbar. As soon as you're done throwing your 7 pebbles, all right, this is symbolic. What you're going to do is you're going to turn around and you're going to face the Kaaba. You're going to walk out of the area first of all. Once you're done with your 7, move out of the way. Let other people in. Once you walk out, you're going to face the Qibla, face the direction of prayer, and you're going to make a dua. That's it, okay? So this is symbolic. You don't have to throw anything. You don't have to throw it hard. People who are ill, people who are weak, they can give their pebbles to someone else to throw on their behalf. So if you are in a group, it's nice if you see someone in a wheelchair or somebody who's elderly or something, and you say, you know what, don't worry. If you're feeling tired, you can give me your pebbles. I'll throw it for you. You should be one of those people, help other people out, inshallah. That's fine for them to do as well. Okay, so this is what they look like. This is the structure. Very organized. This used to be a big problem in the past. People used to get injured here. Alhamdulillah, this thing is taken care of. Because this structure that they built, state of the art, very well organized. It's so well designed, as you can see, with all the different spaces and everything. This is one of the smoothest parts of Hajj now. It's been completely taken care of. Very well structured. Yeah. So if it doesn't touch the wall, as long as it falls in this circle, you're still okay. If you have an extra one, throw the extra one. But if it misses the wall for some reason, as long as it gets in the circle, you're okay. Right? If you throw it here onto somebody else, you should throw one more pebble. Right, all right, some tips. Yeah. Muzdalifah to Mina, that's a good question. Is there there's train still, yeah. So either it's going to be train or it's going to be bus, and if neither, then you can walk. No, it's not. It's not so long. It depends where you're at, but it's not that long. I mean, I walked it the previous time, so it's not that long. Yeah, it should be okay. It's hard when you're walking with a bunch of luggage, though. I'll tell you what happened to us. So in 2005, there was our bus decided that they're going to skip Muzdalifah. They said we're not going to go because we have a few weak people and all of that. So we're going to skip it and we're going to go straight back to Mina. And some people on the bus said, you know what, no, this is sunnah, we're going to do the sunnah. They said, no, the bus is not stopping. So basically they jumped off the moving bus. Right? So they grabbed me with them. One of the guys from our local Yorba Linda Masjid grabbed me. He goes, come on, let's go. So we all jumped off the bus, whoever wanted to stay. And then what happened was when they saw that we jumped off the bus, they said, oh, my bag is up there. So then the one guy jumped on top of the bus and started throwing the bags. He said, that bag. So he threw. People took their little bags with them to Arafat. So they took a travel bag with them. So and this is where you want to be careful. You don't want to take too much stuff. So they took a travel bag. So the guy threw one bag off, and he said, no, the other bag. So he threw the other bag off. He said, no, the other bag. He threw the other bag off. So we had about like 10 bags thrown off, and we're a small group. And these were bags from the people from our group, and they left, and they went back to Mina. So we had to carry all these suitcases with us, walking from Muzdalifah all the way back to Mina. It was that was difficult, alhamdulillah, especially when the wheels were broken on the luggage and all that stuff. But the people were very happy because they thought they lost their suitcases. Yeah. Yeah. That's a good question. Do we take luggage with wheels or do we take luggage with backpack? There's a lot. So there's some places where wheels are going to help you and some places where wheels are going to hinder you. So if you could combine, so what I had personally, I bought a backpack, which is a backpack with wheels. So I could put it on as a backpack when I need to, and I put the wheels on when I need to. That worked very well for me, So, yeah. The thing is, pack light. Pack light, right? In Mina, you're going to be there. You can bring all your stuff. But when you leave Mina and you're coming on your way back, pack as light as you can because you're going to be back. You don't need really that much in Mina. And I also recommend, by the way, when it comes to sleeping bags and all that, if you're going to take some heavy, heavy stuff, you can actually buy all of that stuff in Mecca. Especially if you're on a trip and you're going somewhere else before you go to Mecca, like if you're going on a vacation to Turkey or you're going somewhere else first and then you're going to Mecca, I would recommend you get all that stuff without having to carry it with you. You get all that stuff directly in Mecca. You could buy it in any of the stores. They all sell sleeping bags and pillows and whatever else you need, and you can just leave it there so you don't have to bring it back if you're like a tight packer. So that's what I would recommend. To donate it, yeah, there are some people who do need it. There's a lot of people who are in need of these things. So yeah, that's what a lot of people do. You just buy it there and you donate it back to someone else there. Yeah, you don't leave it. Yeah, you donate it to someone. And people come and pick it up anyways because they know this is the place where people are going to leave a lot of stuff behind. Yeah, alhamdulillah. Okay, so if it's crowded, you may want to go on the upper levels or sometimes the lower levels. They will guide you towards the best level to go to. Don't misthrow. You might hit someone in the head. Don't hit people in the head. Wait your turn. So what's going to happen is people are around this ring and you're trying to get to the front row and you're 10 people behind and you say, oh, forget, I'm not going to wait for this. I'm just going to throw it from here. Yeah, what's going to happen is people are around you and you can't get a full launch. So either you're going to hit someone with your launch or you're going to stop and you hit someone's head and then the pebble's going to go and hit someone else. So just be patient. Try to make sure don't misthrow. If you throw 2 pebbles at once, I don't know why you would do that, but that counts as one. Can the weak and ill who left Muzdalifah throw their pebbles before sunrise? We talked about that. Okay. So you've thrown your pebbles now. You're good. 10th of Dhul Hijjah. Now what's going to happen is, if you're doing tamattu', which is combining, right, the ones together, which most of you are going to be doing, you need to sacrifice an animal as well. So now that you've thrown these pebbles, 7 on the first day, right, you're basically going to sacrifice an extra animal as a way of thanking Allah for allowing you to combine 2 acts of worship into one, right? An animal. So what's happening is, there's 3 types of Hajj. There's tamattu, there's qiran, and there's ifrad. Ifrad are people who do Hajj and no Umrah. They don't need to sacrifice an animal at all. They skip that completely. Right? But then you need to remain in your ihram, and you don't get to make an Umrah as well. So that's why most people will do tamattu. It's the easiest, it's the most popular one. So when you sacrifice an animal, you're going to do 1 goat, 1 sheep, 1 lamb, or 1/7 share of a cow or a camel. What's going to happen though, you don't have to worry about this. You pay the fee, and it's done for you. What's going to happen is this is all taken care of by the government. So you pay the fee, it's like $140 or something like that. 150, this has gone up, right, since this book came out. So 150, you pay it, they're going to slaughter it, and they're going to can it, and they're going to distribute it to the poor people for you. Normally you would get to eat a little bit of it, and you'd distribute a little bit of it and all that. None of that's going to happen generally. Unless you have a friend, who lives in Mecca, he's going to help you go to a farm or something like that. I did that one time. I don't recommend it. Just pay the fee and get done with. After that, what you're going to do is, this is already paid for you in advance. So what's going to happen is, you've already paid this as part of your fee. On this day, on the 10th, when you go and you throw your pebbles, this is already being done for you. The sacrifice is already started. Okay? You do not know which animal you own. Okay? You have a ticket, and their ticket is not matched up to, goat number, 1,247,333, and they say, okay, here's your number. They should be done on the 11th of Dhul Hijjah. So the thing is, some people will tell you, you know what, you don't know when your animal's going to be done, so you have to wait. No, you don't know. Your animal could have been in the beginning, it could have been in the end. You can safely assume that, everything's being taken care of. One of these animals will count for me, inshallah. So you don't worry about it. Let them slaughter over 3 days, but you can consider this as having been taken care of for you. So this part is done. The stoning is done. So you got 2 things done. Stoning is done. Animal sacrifice is done. What's the next thing to do? You're going to shave your head, or you're going to trim the hair. Now, one thing Shaykh Faqih mentioned about the Umrah, so you can shave or trim, right? The thing is, a lot of scholars recommend, I don't know if Shaykh, you agree with this as well, is that if you're doing your Umrah for tamattu, it's recommended to trim instead of shaving, so that you actually have some hair to shave. Do you take that opinion, Shaykh? Or you say shave both times? Yeah. Right, so it depends on how long you're going to be there. So if you're there for like a week or so, you can do that. You can shave both, or you can shave again. So you shave your head. It's recommended to shave for the men. Or if you can't, you trim. And for women, you trim. You don't shave. So what's going to happen is, you've done 3 things out of 4, which you're supposed to be doing now. So on the 10th, at this part of Hajj, there's 4 things to get done. Number 1, stone 1 pillar. Number 2, sacrifice an animal. Number 3, shave your head or trim your head. And number 4, perform a tawaf. So there's 4 things to get done. These 3 are going to get done on the 10th of Dhul Hijjah. So this is easy. Sacrifice is automatically done for you. You can assume it's done. Shaving the head, you take care of it on this day. The throwing the stones, it's going to be done as well. What happens when you've done 3 is you have a partial release from your ihram. So partial release basically means that everything is allowed for you now except intercourse. So your clothes are done. You can change back into your normal clothes. You could put on perfume. You obviously can cut your hair because you just shaved your head anyways, right? So hair regulations are done. Scent regulations are done. Everything is done. Only one thing, you're not allowed to have intercourse still. But you're back in your normal clothes now on the 10th of Dhul Hijjah. Right? So your ihram is pretty much done. Okay? There's one more thing that you need to do in order for you to get out of ihram completely. Right? And that is the tawaf. Right? So you're going to change your clothes, you can put on perfume, everything, you're good to go. Okay? And what's going on the 10th of Dhul Hijjah around the world, everyone else? Celebrating the day of Eid. Right? So this is what's going on. This is what you're doing on the day of Eid, and they do what they do on the day of Eid. Right? So, some tips. How can I know when my animal has been slaughtered? Assume it's been taken care of as soon as they start the process. Okay, on this date you can assume it's fine. Okay, now comes what's called tawaf ifada or tawaf ziyara. And this is an essential, important part of the Hajj itself. So what you're going to do is you can do this on any one of these days, on the 10th or later on. So let's assume you choose to do it on the 10th day. So you know, I got the energy, I'm feeling good, I threw my stones, the animal got sacrificed, I didn't even have to put any effort in there, I just paid the money, and I shaved my head, or I cut my hair, trimmed my hair. Now you can go to Mecca and perform tawaf. You go to Mecca, you could do this anytime from the 10th to the 13th. If you choose to do it on the 10th, great. If you choose to do it on the 11th, on the 12th, you could do it anytime, any of these days that you want to do. Usually, if you have a good tour operator, they're going to tell you, we're monitoring conditions, kind of like the weather. Like we're looking on the TV and we're checking how packed it is right now. And they're going to tell you, hey, now is a good time to go. If you guys want to go, this would be a good time because it's not so crowded. You want to go in a time where it's not so crowded. Right, so you go, and you go back to Mecca. So where are you right now, by the way? Where did you throw those stones? Mina. Where did you cut your hair? In Mina, right? Where did the sacrifice get done of the animal? No, we have no idea where it got done, but it got done somewhere, right? Someone did it somewhere, wherever it is, right? There's like a machine going. They have some farm somewhere, right? So that's taken care of for us. It's recommended to delay if it's going to be massive crowding, right? Okay, it can get very, very packed, or maybe to go early, because a lot of people, they go, oh yeah, it's going to be too busy right now. So they all delay, and then you end up going early and you're better off. So just check the traffic. Now that there's TV, there's live coverage of it. Anyone has access to like a TV, and they look what's going on and say, oh, looks pretty good right now, let's go. Now this tawaf you're doing, you're not in your ihram clothing. Okay, you're not in your ihram clothing. You're not in the white garments or anything. For the women, you're not in your ihram. For men, you're not going to uncover your shoulder in this tawaf. Okay, because you're not in the ihram clothing. And you're not going to jog the first 3 rounds like you did the first time. Okay, so this is a different type of tawaf. It's the same. Everything else is the same. The only difference is you're not going to uncover your shoulder. You're not going to be in ihram. You're not going to jog the first 3 rounds. You go and you make tawaf exactly the same with the same conditions. Make sure you have wudu. You do the same thing, just like you did before. You know how to make tawaf now. Then you go and you do your sa'i. You're walking between Safa and Marwa. Exactly the same way. The only difference between the previous time and this time is what? No ihram. Right? No ihram. So it's a lot easier. Right? So you're gonna be you can wear whatever. You can wear your leather socks, or you can wear shoes, but don't wear like dirty shoes and dirty up the place. And if you wear brand new shoes, then people are going to think that you're wearing shoes and making it dirty, so they'll probably call you out. Right? So you want to be a little bit wise about that too. If your feet get hurt, they hurt a lot, your heels start hurting or something, wear something that doesn't look like a shoe, but it gives you the padding of a shoe. That's my suggestion. Right? So your heels can start hurting after a while. You're walking on marble, so it does hurt. So if you're sensitive to that, or if it hurts you more, you can do that. You put something on, put on some kind of slippers or something with some padding there. Okay, so you go and you do that 7 times. Right? Not 7 round trips or 7 one-way trips. 7 one-way trips. All right. Once you're done with your tawaf and your sa'i, you are fully released from ihram. Okay, so now all your ihram regulations are gone, and of course most of them were gone already. Now they're all gone. Now what do? You go back to Mina. You go back to your tent, and you do exactly what you were doing in Mina before. Just sitting in your tent, you're making dua, eating, reading Quran. Just go about your daily business. Be a little bit better because you're on Hajj, right? You have to be in Mina every night from midnight to sunrise. So at night, you have to be in Mina. In the daytime, you can go to Mecca. So this is what you did, right? In the daytime, you went to Mecca, you did your tawaf. The next day, you're in Mina, you can leave. You can go to Mecca, you can go wherever you want. But you're supposed to spend the night in Mina. Right? So make sure you return back to Mina wherever you are. Wherever you decided to go, get back to Mina. All right? So, recommended is for the tawaf time. Can a menstruating woman do tawaf? Sheikh, you covered this already? No? Good. So we're going to bring him up for Q&A. This is his specialty. He's good answering these questions. All right. So he'll answer those soon. Because it's a requirement. Right? Having wudu and tahara is a requirement. And women who are in their menstruation, they don't meet that requirement. So there's something that they're supposed to be doing, inshallah. So how do they handle that? They're going to be delaying this tawaf. So Shaykh will talk about that, inshallah. Now we're on day 4, okay? 11th of Dhul Hijjah. Where are you? When you wake up, where are you going to be? Mina. You're still in Mina. You wake up. You did your 7 pebbles already. So if you don't have 21 pebbles, because today you need 21, okay? Because you're going to hit all 3 markers, all right? With how many pebbles each? 7 each. 7 times 3, 21. So you're going to get all 3. So today you need 21. If you collected 49, you got your 21. If you don't, if you collected 7, you need 21. Go around and collect 21 pebbles from somewhere, okay? Once you collected them, you head to those stoning markers. You're going to hit all 3 of them. When do you do it? Between Zuhr to sunset. So between noon until sunset, you're going to go and do this thing. And if you can't make it, you can do it after sunset as well, but it's recommended to do it before sunset. You're going to throw 7 at the small marker and do the exact same thing. Turn around, make dua, walk to the next one. Walk in, throw 7, Allahu Akbar each time. Move out, turn around, face the Qibla, make dua. Walk to the next one. Go in, Allahu Akbar, 7 times. Walk out, turn around, you don't have to make dua at the last one. And then you leave. You're done. So you throw 7 at each one. You move back, face the Qibla, make dua. Same thing with the medium. So you're small, then the medium, what's called wusta, sughra, wusta, and kubra. There's 3 of them. All right, you don't supplicate at the last one, and you're done. So all your stoning is done. And then what do? You spend the night at Mina. What are you doing? What kind of prayers are you doing in Mina? Huh? Shortened prayers, right? Specifically. All right, good. Next day, what do? You wake up, you do exactly what you did the previous day. What did you do the previous day? Throw stones. How many? 21. At how many markers? 3 markers. That's it. So you go, right? Do exactly what you did, hit your 3 things, and then you leave Mina before sunset on the 12th day, on the 12th of Dhul Hijjah. Okay? If you don't leave before sunset, you're going to stay another day. So here's the part of Hajj that's optional. You get to leave on the 12th of Dhul Hijjah, so your Hajj is 5 days, right? 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Or you get to stay for the 13th of Dhul Hijjah in Mina. The vast majority of people leave. And it's perfectly fine to leave. And it's not like something extra rewarding if you stay. But if you choose to stay, that's fine. You can stay or you can leave. You get to choose. If your group is leaving, I recommend that you leave. If your group is staying, I recommend you stay. Just stick with your group. That's the best thing to do, inshallah. So if you're going to leave, you have to leave before sunset. Pack up your bags, leave your tent, and you're pretty much done. This is pretty much the end of your Hajj. Day 6 is optional. If you stay, what you're going to do is you're going to do the same thing you did on the previous day. 21 pebbles, stone 3 markers, and then you leave that day. You cannot stay another day, okay? You cannot stay on the 14th, then it's done. Okay, so that's done. The last thing, so you're pretty much your Hajj is done. The last thing you need to do is your farewell tawaf. So you may be staying in Mecca 3 days after your Hajj is done, or 5 days, or 10 days, or whatever it is. Then your last tawaf, what's called tawaf al-wada' or tawaf al-sadr, what's going to happen is right before you leave Mecca, the last thing you do is you perform a tawaf. One more tawaf, that's it. Right? This is tawaf only. This is not sa'i. Right? There's no need to do the Safa and Marwa. This is just tawaf only. Okay? So before you leave Mecca, it's same as the previous tawaf when you had your normal clothing on, everything else is intact. You're not going to run. You're not going to uncover your shoulder. You have to have wudu and all of that, just like a normal tawaf. It's the last thing you do which is in your control, right? So in your control meaning, look, if your hotel says you need to check out, right, and you can't go perform your tawaf, if you perform your tawaf, and then you say, well, I'm going to check out of my hotel first, and then I'm going to make my tawaf, so the last thing I do, so I leave is my tawaf, where are you going to put your bags? Where are you going to put your suitcases, right? You can't just leave it on the bus, or you can't leave it somewhere else. So in your control, meaning generally the last thing you can possibly do. If you're done, and then someone says, hey, you know what, we're waiting for the group, they're all going shopping, we have 3 more hours before we leave. It's okay, you don't have to go perform another tawaf. The last thing within your control is you perform 1 tawaf. Your Hajj is complete, make the intention to change your life, become a better person, regularly frequent the masjid, come regularly, stay in good company, stay in, keep up with your prayers. Inshallah ta'ala, Allah will accept your Hajj from you. Right, so a few tips and questions here. If you're in a group, some people are delayed, it's fine. You don't need to make tawaf, farewell tawaf again. Is it required to check out of your hotel? We talked about that. What should a woman do during her period? Sheikh Muhammad will talk about that. Is it allowed to delay the tawaf until just before you leave Mecca? Okay, so this is a little tricky one. So some people, they say, can I delay my tawaf ifada, the one that's part of the Hajj, and combine it with my tawaf al-wada', my farewell tawaf, right? You're not really supposed to do that. So if you do it, okay, it'll count. But you're not supposed to combine the 2 of them together, okay? Some packages do that. If someone leaves Mecca for Medina and then plans to return back again soon, will they still perform the same thing? Yeah, they still perform the same thing when they're leaving. Mistakes and penalties, I think Sheikh covered that. Did you cover that already? Yeah? Okay, he covered that already. So skip that. And we will cover, I think we're done. Okay, and then Medina. So, we'll talk about stuff that happens in Medina if we don't have enough questions. This is a standard Hajj schedule review, recap, okay? Arrive in Mecca, okay? Before you get to Mecca, you have to be in ihram, right? Remember, there's miqat. Before you get into that border, you got to be in ihram. Once you arrive in Mecca, you're going to perform tawaf, and you're going to perform sa'i. Tawaf is going around the Kaaba 7 times. Sa'i, going back and forth between Safa and Marwa. Right? The 8th of Dhul Hijjah, your Hajj will actually start. So you go to Mina, and you just stay there in your ihram. 9th of Dhul Hijjah, what are you going to do? You go to Arafah, stay there, make dua, go back on your way, stop in Muzdalifah, go to sleep. 10th of Dhul Hijjah, you wake up, you go and stone one of the markers in Mina, offer a sacrifice, which is going to be taken care of for you, shave or trim your head, you leave ihram partially, and then you go and you make your tawaf in Mecca, either this day or the following day or the following day. From Muzdalifah? You're talking about here, right, on the 10th? Okay. So, what are you asking? Before you shave your head? That's a good question. For Shaykh Faqih, inshallah. There's a difference of opinion on this. There's a big difference of opinion in the madhabs about whether or not, which order you have to do it and which one will release your ihram partially. So ask the same question when he comes up here, and we'll take his opinion first, inshallah. All right. So we're going to do that. So all that stuff happens. Remember, your tawaf can be done at any of these 3 days, but let's assume you do it. On the 11th, you stone 3 markers. On the 12th, you stone 3 markers. Day 13 is optional. 13th of Dhul Hijjah is optional. Before you leave Mecca, farewell tawaf. It's pretty much the schedule. Okay? Fairly clear? Okay, good. Alhamdulillah. All right, so now we'll call up Shaykh Faqih and we'll have an extended Q&A, inshallah. Get the microphone on him, inshallah. Oh yeah, and there's a lot of books out there. We have some of these books in the masjid. It's called Hajj and Umrah, a practical and spiritual guide to the journey. So all proceeds go to the masjid. It's $15. We're selling it here. Who would like to start us off? Questions?
Okay, so now when it comes to mistakes, there are different levels. So there are mistakes that invalidate the Hajj. There are mistakes that, if they're done out of ignorance or forgetfulness, it doesn't affect it, right? And then there are mistakes that necessitate dam or fidya, some compensation. So it depends on the nature of it. So if you skip one of the pillars of Hajj, right, then that will invalidate it, even if it's unintentional. Of course, if it's intentional, then it's sinful, but if it's unintentional, it will invalidate it. So the person has to perform Hajj again in order. If you skip one of the wajibat, or you commit one of the haram restrictions, then it will necessitate. Now, if it's out of forgetfulness or unintentional, then it's, let's say you unintentionally you were sitting, you were not paying attention, and you pulled a hair, right, from your cheek or from, so, and then you realize, like, astaghfirullah, khalas. But if you do them intentionally, or if you have a medical condition that then there is a fidya for it. There's a kafara to compensate for that. So it depends on what it is. And of course, there are other mistakes that, like for instance, somebody forgot and argued with his wife. You're not supposed to argue. It's not, there's no dam. I'm just saying, there's no dam, but, yeah. Egyptians say if you have dam, then you want. All right. Yes. Yes. Okay. No, you're not supposed to. You're not supposed to cover your face. Of course, you can cover your body, but you're not supposed to cover your face. Yeah, you're supposed to keep your hands out as well, right? But if you need to, let's say if it's very cold or while you're asleep, you don't know you covered your face, then there's nothing wrong upon you. But you should not do it intentionally. How about if you forget and you eat and you drink? What do you do? Just making sure. Yeah, one of the sisters asked me privately. Sleeping bag is controversial. But if you don't cover your face, I don't see anything wrong with it. Yeah. Yeah. Right? Do you see anything wrong with it? What's that? Yeah, when you go to the various camps, men and women are going to be segregated anyways. Separate, yeah. Yeah. If they ask you, if your Hajj group asks you to bring sleeping bags, because some of them provide them, some of them tell you to bring yours, Yeah, I kind of alluded to it. I mentioned it. You can use an umbrella as long as you're not putting it on your head. As long as it's not resting on your head, you're holding it away from your head, you can.
It's not a hat. Umbrella is not a hat. So the Shia school of thought, many of them, they say that you cannot have anything over your head. So they don't use umbrellas, and their buses are actually open air buses, open top buses, because you cannot cover your head with anything. But this is not the majority of scholars that say.
Now you just have to watch out, because sometimes you see people wearing umbrellas. Yes. Yes. So instead of and you don't want to do that. Yeah. So instead of, it doesn't have a handle. It has a little thing that goes around. It has a strap that goes around your head, and it sits on your head. So your hands are free. Hands-free umbrellas. But that's problematic as well. Yes?
Mecca do we do Tahiyatul Masjid when we walk in? So in Mecca, in the Masjid al-Haram, special place, the substitute for Tahiyatul Masjid is Tawaf. So Tawaf is supposed to be done for that specific reason. So when you go in, it's recommended to do the Tawaf instead. And when you're sitting in Mecca, most of the time, you should try to make Tawaf as much as you can. All right, that's what's recommended throughout. So if you have extra days in Mecca, try to make as many Tawaf as you can, because this is the only place in the world where you can do it. So definition of Tawaf is going around 7 times. Not the sa'i part, just the tawaf part, not ihram, none of those things. So tawaf is having wudu, having tahara, purity, going in, doing the 7 rounds, right, and then concluding with the 2 units of prayer, either behind Maqam Ibrahim, the place of Ibrahim, or anywhere else in the area. That's tawaf. And you can just keep doing that as many times. You could do 1 a day, you could do 10 a day. So as much energy as you have. So the reason why we complete the prayer is because you're going to be staying there for an extended period of time. Right, so you have the comforts of the hotel and everything like that. So you're not actually in a journey, number 1. And 2, you're going to be staying there for a significant period of time. So that's the reasoning behind it. That's one. I mean, if technically you're staying for a very small period of time, you could have potentially shortened your prayer, but you're praying behind an imam as well. Right, so even if you're a traveler, you pray behind the imam who is not a traveler. So when he does the full prayer, you do the full prayer. Anyone else?
How many people are performing Hajj this year, inshallah? Going for Hajj this year? When are you leaving?
24?
Okay, show of hand, who's going to Medina first? Okay. Mecca? Straight to Mecca? And then is Medina before Hajj or after Hajj? Medina after Hajj. Who's going to Medina after Hajj? Okay, all right. Because there are some people that go early enough to go to Mecca first, perform Umrah, and then they go to Medina. And then on their way back from Medina, they still have plenty of time in Mecca. So it becomes a little tricky, because now, are you outside the ihram zone or not? Do you need to come back in ihram, or should you do a second Umrah? So but you're arriving Medina first, and then you're going to go to Mecca 3 days before Hajj. Yeah. Now, for those who may be going on these very, very short packages where there's not enough time, they can do Qiran, they can do Ifrad. If you're arriving on the 8th, yeah. So, Allah Ta'ala, Allah knows best. May Allah subhanahu, please remember us in your dua. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep us all safe and sound. May Allah ease this journey of ours, allow us to complete it in the best of state.